can do an intro. I can do an intro.
Okay.
Okay,
you go.
Yeah, okay, I guess it's good to alternate. Hey everyone, we're back with the Wano Report number 22. Yeah?
23?
23. Wano Report number 23. As usual, we're going to be talking about things. We're going to be talking about the chapter. Probably a little bit about the live action. Probably a few questions and answers. With us today, we have... What's so funny? I haven't said anything funny. I'm stating the facts of what we're going to talk about. Are we not talking about the chapter?
I know. We're going to talk about things, and it's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ohara said I could host. Do the intro.
No, sorry.
But that's cool. All right.
So
today we have Ohara. We've got Drizzt, a very famous YouTuber. You may have heard of.
I know that the audience loves me when I'm on.
The audience does.
It's that love.
I'm sure it'll be good.
Man.
It'll be good for views.
You are very welcome to this podcast anytime.
Yeah.
I am the Senate.
Drizzt has become the Senate after the last chapter, which had everybody in a... I don't know, it had everybody in a frenzy. So, yeah, I guess we can just start talking about the chapter. I guess overall thoughts... I'll give my overall thoughts
Can I ask a question first?
And then we can... Yes.
So my question...
No questions.
Oh! But my first question would be, did the official translation change your opinion? Because I actually saw a decent amount of people that actually it changed their opinion.
Oh, okay, so for me, it's softened the... I still have my same... And I talked to you about this on your stream, right? I think you and I had a slightly different issue with the chapter than a lot of other people. A lot of people were getting on it... Actually, I don't know. I don't know your full thing. But I think a lot of people were really mad about what Odin did. And were like, this is really out of character for Odin, or really pathetic, or they hated Odin. I still don't know what that missing piece was, or why Odin did that, right? So I don't know that. My issue was the fact that it happened so quickly, right? It was just so...
Yeah, I think me and you are actually on the same page, Morj. I think for some reason, people were just confused about, like, what happened, even though they know there's going to be an answer. For me, and I think for you, is more along the execution of the chapter that we had comments on. I feel like we all knew there was going to be a reason at some point.
Yeah, so I can explain why the official changed my opinion. Okay, so I'll say this. My main issue with the chapter was that I think on paper, this could have been like actually a really strong little character storyline for Odin, right? I think on paper, because it is the idea of like Odin who has been, you know, a very, I guess, macho, however you want to say it, like heroic, very proud figure so far, and him coming back to Wano as... I suppose a very accomplished pirate. If that, first of all, if his reception back to Wano had been like a little more of a hero's welcome or something like that, and people showing him being held in a very high praise, and then him basically humbling himself for 5 straight years, first having the anger towards Orochi, good, but then kind of building up that anger by having Orochi do some nasty shit to him for 5 straight years, kind of tearing him down, bringing him down knocking him down several pegs or whatever, kind of degrading him in the eyes of the people of Wano, and then finally still not following through with whatever he followed through on. I think that would have been, in theory, a good way to really build up the Odin-Orochi animosity by the end of it all. And it would have been better than Odin just getting off of Roger's ship and going straight after Orochi, but rather actually like having some sort of like build up in what Orochi did leading into that. So I think that on paper, that could have been good. But the issue I had with the chapter was the speed of it all. Because the chapter was a circle, basically, right? So where it started off was Odin, the avenging hero of Wano, coming after Orochi. Then he has this tragic fall from grace for 5 years. And then at the end of the chapter, he's back to being the avenging hero of Wano going after Orochi. Like, on paper, that could be an interesting story. But having that happen so quickly in a chapter, like, it was literally, like, his story in that chapter was a very quick circle. That was what upset me, because if Oda had just drawn that out over time, made us actually feel something for, or like at least established, you know, Hyogoro's wife or something like that. Like, there's so many little things he could have done, taken a little more time with. If this was a 2-chapter story arc or something like that, I might have liked it a lot better, but it was the speed of it. The reason I liked it a little better after the official translations was because from the fan translations that I read, it made it seem even, like, it was almost, like, nonsensical, at least the way that I read it initially. It was just, like, it was bizarre. It had, like, it felt like Oda was putting practically no effort into writing this, so it was like Odin shows up at Orochi, then something about some arrows popping out, then Odin's acting weird, then some weird dialogue about Odin being, like, even just small stuff like Odin being confused about some sort of a boat or whatever. Like, it just made the whole thing, which was, like, I think a really rushed chapter, seem even more bizarre and absurd. Whereas when the actual translation, the official translation of it, I did feel at least like a lot of the narration was well written, especially the last page of it. So even if, like, it didn't carry the dramatic weight it would have if Oda had taken more time, I did get more so what Oda was trying to do with the chapter, and trying to build, like, what he was trying to build with the chapter. It just felt too quick. So I'd say that was my total opinion on it. Like, even small stuff like saying ships instead of a boat, like, ships to me raises more of a question mark as to what could be being held over Odin's head. Like, that leaves a bit more of a mystery to me, whereas boat makes it sound more trivial. It was just a lot of small, minor language changes that did help me understand more of, like, okay, there could be something good underneath this. I just didn't feel it when reading the chapter.
I think I'm gonna give Drizzt the first impression before I share my opinion. But, like, just as a quick remark with the ship thing, that is just, I mean, ship sounds nicer than boats. I agree, but since in Japanese there isn't a
is it the
sense
same? It's actually the same.
There's no sense of plural singular, so it could be a ship or it could be ships.
Okay, then I don't know. It was just my impression changed a little between those two wordings.
I think there's, like, a difference in terms of impact whenever you're comparing singular plural. Boat makes it sound as if it's, like, one big grand thing. I think ships makes it sound as it's more minute and not as important. Because I think
for me it raised more of a question mark.
Well,
like,
I mean, they were both question
like,
marks. One of them kind of seemed like it would be a little bit more, like, mysterious, like a singular boat. Because I remember a lot of people saying, even though at the point in time this wouldn't make sense from what we found on Alabasta, a lot of people thought, like, oh, he's got Pluton or something. He knows something about Pluton, a boat. Like, that's, like, the only boat in the series.
If you make the Pluton jump, I could see
that. So, like, when people saw ships, they're like, okay, this is something a bit different then. It didn't really matter for me.
I mean, yeah, it's just a translation thing, I guess.
So maybe that was again, on the more minor end, but still, I did feel overall it made a little less sense to me when I was reading the fan like, to me, the fan translation just made it very, very rough, a very rough read from start to finish. Whereas the official translation, I did feel had more elegant or eloquent narration.
I'll give credit to the scanlators though, because the other previous chapter and the one before that was really, really, really bad. Like, it was, like, so bad that you couldn't even read it. Like, you didn't understand what was going on. I feel like this one actually did a very good job in terms of how close it was to the Viz. The Viz made it seem a lot more fluid and it was a lot easier to digest, but, like, essentially the entire meaning was still there. I don't really feel like what the chapter
maybe
gave
we
was
read different ones, because the scanlation I read, it was also different, and I also like this time the official translation better. But I have to agree with Drizzt. Like, the version I read was also not as confusing as you described it. So maybe we'll read something different.
I read an Imgur album. I don't know what you guys read.
So did I.
So then I don't know, but I personally did not like that Imgur. Or, like, I did feel like a marked difference in terms of that album that I read versus the official. And I do wonder, like, the core issue would never have changed. The core issue would never have changed, which is that this was a very, very fast plotline for Odin that didn't really effectively, in my mind, do what Oda set out to do with it. But I do think that, like, simple stuff like more eloquent translations, better written narration does at least help get the idea of it across better. So, I don't know. Was it a good chapter at the end of the day? I personally did not feel like it, but I didn't hate it as much as I did the first time.
Guy.
We didn't even talk about the content yet, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. Do you want to share your thoughts first, Drizzt?
Actually, you can go.
Okay, I'll make it a bit faster.
Sorry.
So for me, I kind of ping ponged a little bit with the chapter. When I first read it, because I was off on holidays, so my first impression was, thank God I don't have to review this chapter, because I'm not really sure what to talk about here. I was really, like, a bit confused, and I was, like, a bit disappointed by the chapter. And, like, a part of that disappointment, I think I have to, like, also state was just story wise, like, not me disappointed being with the story, but, like, me being disappointed, like, I think Oda intended to, being disappointed with Odin for, like, not being able to stand up to Orochi the way we hope to. But then like that doesn't have anything to do with how the chapter was written. That was just like story wise me being disappointed with the character, and I think that was on purpose. So I'll leave that out. But I was also a bit disappointed, as you said, Morj, by the speed again. I mean, this has been like a kind of consistent element in our discussions about the flashback so far, that we're not happy with the speed at which all of this is taking place. I think we said that in the Roger Whitebeard part, that makes sense because Oda was really walking on really thin ice there. So I understand that he sped through that, and that was fine. I think that all was logical enough to follow. But now that we got back to Wano, and especially also the beginning of Wano, the part with Odin, I would have also wished to have that drawn out a little. Then after rereading the chapter, the official translation, I liked the chapter a lot better. I guess also because the better translation, but also the reread helped me to catch details in the plot that I didn't catch so well on the first read, I guess. So I felt at least that I had a better grasp of what Oda was trying to do. So I hope we can talk about it later a little bit, but like I really got a better grasp of Oda trying to paint Odin as this like as someone who didn't have a choice, but he like subtly threw it in there, you know, with like you said, which was a bit confusing at first, maybe with the boat and like the poison arrows. But you can definitely tell that Orochi was basically holding Odin captive. Like he was holding the citizens of Wano, or Wano itself, captive or hostage against Odin. Like he was like, okay, well, if you act up against me, I will start killing people. I will, you know, like bad things will happen. And then Odin basically saying, okay, I'm going to put my pride and my strength that I've gained over the years, that is like even more powerful now, I will put that away for the sake of my people. So I really like I changed my opinion about the chapter in the way that I really like the idea Oda had with it and the direction the story went. I kind of changed my opinion and really like it now, because I think that is a interesting way of taking it, and it makes me really excited to see what the Scabbards are actually going to do, and Odin are like what they're actually going to do against Kaido in the next couple of chapters.
Yeah,
but I still. Oh yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. I thought you were done. Sorry.
Yeah, but I still definitely agree that I would have liked, because it like I while I really like the impact that this has on Odin's character, and it makes the entire thing so much more tragic, and it's like one of the most tragic elements of the of the flashback, in my opinion. It went, like you said, it went by really fast, and at the end of the chapter we were basically again at the point where we left the chapter before, with Odin confronting Kaido in this case, not Orochi. So if this had been drawn out for at least like 2 chapters or maybe 3 chapters even, and like shown in more detail how the people suffer, how Odin has trying to really like suffer, like we only could see it in like individual panels from his face how he was suffering, but it would have been interesting to see like his struggle with this entire situation a bit more and like get behind that a bit more. So in that regard, I would have wished for a little bit more clarification. Well, maybe not clarification, but a little bit more detail in that regard. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it right pretty much when you said that. Again, in concept, I like the idea of what could have been, or what was done with Odin's character, which was like, he has been built up to be this extremely strong symbol of Wano. For him to have to basically put that all aside or throw that away or kind of debase himself to the degree that he had to do, that was, I think, a good idea on Odin, mixing him up or whatever. Like, I think that was a very good idea for Oda to do, and have him do that for 5 years rather than just come back in as the rampaging hero. Like, having him go through something first and have to sacrifice a lot more for his people before finally, like, being pushed over the line and then, again, going into this rampage of revenge, but this time with, like, much more weight behind it, I suppose. So I thought it was a good idea, but I guess like this chapter, I guess it was so disliked because you could dislike it so many different ways, if that makes sense from listening to you. Because you could dislike, I saw some people who disliked it because, one, they thought that Odin had gone after Orochi and couldn't get to Orochi, and then basically gave up and started degrading himself. So there's some people who disliked it for that. then there's some people who understood that, okay, something must have happened between Oden and Orochi must be holding something over his head to make Oden act like this. But then those people don't accept that whatever this mystery thing is could be enough to warrant this type of character act or character behavior, right? So there's people who dislike it for that because they're like, Oden would just never act like that no matter what. And then there's people who like the concept, like me, I guess, but felt that it was all executed really rushed. And then I guess, I don't know about Drizzt, but I don't know if Drizzt even likes the concept and might have just felt like a poor concept, poor rush. So I guess we'll hand it off to you.
The stage is yours. I am the Senate.
That's right. Ironic. But I'll get some context to it. So I reacted to the chapter on stream, and before the chapter came out, I had heard that this was a controversial chapter and that most people didn't like it, even people who are normally like all for everything that Oda did. I feel like that actually kind of influenced the way I perceived things going into the chapter, because I had that negative mindset going into it where like I felt like a lot of people would dislike it. I was like, oh man, something bad must have happened. Something horrible must have happened. And when I read the chapter, I did get angry reading it, but it was different anger than I think, well, a lot of other people thought, because I've had gripes about the Odin flashback consistently since the first chapter of the flashback. And
since the first chapter. Okay.
Yeah. So like, it's not like it hasn't been like, this is the chapter that broke the camel's back. Man, Odin made Odin look disrespectful. How could he do that to the Chad? I mean, that didn't really bother me, man. I'm all for people being degraded. No, I like that. I mean,
right.
Listen, Morj, you read Berserk. I'm into that.
Yeah. Well, would you like it if...
No spoilers, please.
Okay, yeah, true. Okay, no, never mind. But no, I get what you're saying.
I'm all for self-sacrifice and doing things like that. So, I don't know. I guess for me, I thought that after the journey that he went on with Whitebeard and Roger, that this would be like the easiest part of the flashback, where he comes back to Wano and you could like write some trauma or like some things there. It would be like really easy to do writing-wise to get him in trouble, and then have that conflict with Kaido. And then like the flashback would just end like a little bit like, hodgepodge. Like the end of it was really good, and like the beginning of it a little rough. And I was like, I'm perfectly fine with that. Whatever happens, happens. But I saw the same things that have kind of been happening since the first chapter. And I was like, oh man, even at this section of the flashback. So that I wasn't a particular fan with, but a lot of the things that you guys said, I kind of mirror those. Where it kind of came down to the idea was really cool. Execution, I feel like
the concept.
Yeah, the concept was great.
The concept is almost a bit.
It's
almost a bit like Shakespearean in a way, like the invincible hero that then like has to bend to the
And it also kind of felt Shakespearean in the sense that this is also kind of common in like Japanese, I don't know, I guess literature is like the sense of tragedy. Like in European, that's like there's always like a tragedy. There's not like a lot of good endings. For folklore, usually something bad happens. And that's supposed to be like a lesson. So that's kind of common in Japanese literature as well. So I was actually kind of expecting that, looking forward to it, because I feel like it's actually interesting to have the hero fail. Like that's an incredibly interesting concept. And one of my favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson, that's like the concept of one of his entire books. Is what if the bad guy won?
It's true.
All right.
So I was a big fan of that. I just feel like Oda... It's always a matter of execution, and I just feel like, I don't know, definitely could have done better in terms of what he could have actually done to set things up. Slow rolling it definitely would have been better for this type of chapter.
Slow rolling it, and it's a product too of, you said you haven't liked the Odin flashback so far, and I would agree that it's a product of not getting that time early on either. You said you didn't like it from chapter 1. I at least liked me and Ohara, I think we both really liked the direction it was going from chapter 1 of the Odin flashback, where it felt slower. The first 2 chapters, I think, with him and Kinemon, where like, even if I didn't think like, the Kinemon chapter was amazing or anything, but I liked the fact that everything seemed to be slower, more focused on at least getting to see Odin and the retainers, and I expected that there would be more twists and turns and more to see of his story as we went along. But then instead, to me, it felt like we got to Oda maybe rushed a little bit to get to the Roger Whitebeard stuff, which I really enjoyed. So I see why he rushed to get to it. But then you get the backlash of it now when we're back in Wano. Roger and Whitebeard are gone.
Right. And the story structures errors kind of reveal themselves a little bit, because this flashback is way different than every flashback that Oda has ever done. Because this one was kind of just a montage of events, and it didn't really focus on like a character arc or some like super emotional buildup. And like he's supposed to do that in this
basically
section,
a
where like
quick biography kind of.
yeah, like every other flashback in the series has been, you kind of know what you're getting, where Oda's going to have some tragic event happen, and this is going to be why X led to Z. So it's definitely weird to look at it in that context. This is not what Oda would normally do for flashbacks.
The thing is, like, flashbacks for me are in One Piece. Like, if I like so much stuff about One Piece, and maybe this is one thing I haven't talked about in my videos, period. But like, the flashbacks for me in One Piece are actually, if I had to say one thing, maybe that's my favorite part of One Piece, actually. Because, like, I don't know, Oda just does so much with, like, Robin's flashback for me is maybe the saddest I get when reading anything, I think.
That was a great flashback.
Or, like, watching anything. Like, it's, and that might be because I was very young when I first got to it or whatever, but, like, that's just the way it is. Like, Robin's flashback, Nami's flashback. I think if I had to boil down one thing that Oda's really, like, I could point to, like, read these X amount of chapters, and then you'll see why I really like One Piece, I would point to maybe a flashback or something like that. So, with Oden's flashback getting the hype it did, here's the thing, to take it in a different direction, I guess, a little bit, I still think this flashback could end really strong because of the way, and maybe this is just blind faith or something like that, but because of the way that Oda ended this chapter's narration, I don't think, like, I think we get the concept of what Oden had to do with, like, over these 5 years or whatever. I do think that if Oda just slows the pace down right now, takes it to a normal pace, and has a really good concept in mind for this entire night, where this battle with Kaido and Orochi goes down, where he gets boiled and executed, where his family runs to the castle, all that stuff. If he has a really good concept in mind and just wants to tell that story cleanly, I think it could still be a really strong flashback. It's just going to really depend on, and I got the sense from the ending narration that he is not going to just montage away the next part of this flashback, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, it would be really against Oda's normal writing style to, like, even at the end, montage it. Although, like, the entirety of his life has been montaged. Like, a lot of his character motivations, everything, all his connections to, like, basically every person has been montaged. I would be shocked if Oda did that for his death as well.
I would just say, though, that he has done that for Brook. People forget, but Brook's flashback...
Oh, yeah, that was
if
right
you go
away.
back and read it, it was pretty much that's partly, although, I don't know why I'm making that argument, because I actually don't love Brook's flashback as much as other people, but I think that Oda could still emulate a Brook sort of flashback, in that Brook's flashback was largely montage for the first part of it, but the ending tragedy of what happened to Brook was just so strong that most people still really, really loved it. And the anime, of course, did a good job.
Well, I feel that, for me personally, I feel that a flashback can serve multiple purposes in a story. So, for example, for a lot of the Straw Hats that we've gotten, like you say, like that, the focus is like on the one tragic event, right, that we've gotten, and then I think like from there it's also been like a bit of a like what happened before, what happened after, and then like focus on one big event. No matter if it's like Robin or Sanji, right? We have like this one thing that depicts their tragic history, kind of. And I think for that kind of purpose, Oda did like a great job with the characters, like with the flashbacks he gave them. I just feel, I think I'm on your side that I also expected this kind of flashback for the longest time out of Oden's flashback. I just tend to think now, like, not necessarily meaning I'm trying to defend it, but I just...
No, you don't have to say it like that. Like,
yeah,
like,
no.
Yeah,
but like I said, I do have my issues with it. I just think that Oda didn't... Like, I feel the comparison is a bit dangerous with previous flashbacks, because I don't think that it serves the same purpose, if you get me.
Well, I would say that you can make the argument that it was supposed to serve a higher purpose than a lot of the other flashbacks.
Yeah, sure.
Because, well, I mean,
but at the same time, it also had to cover a lot more ground, right?
That like, comes with
Oda
the issue of writing. How do you cover an entire person's life without doing something like a Golden Age from Berserk length flashback, which is a really, really long flash. It's like 80 plus chapters or close to it.
I thought this was going to be 30 going in, but but I was way off on that. I do think it had 30 chapters worth of content.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even more. I mean, it's an entire person's journey. There could have been a lot of things that could have been added, but maybe just would have covered too much. It's not easy to write the kind of flashback that Oda had in mind with Odin. I mean, this is a flashback that is really the entire crux of multiple arcs. Odin's that dynamic of a character. He's that important. He's like the sole reason we're kind of here to begin with. So like, there's a lot of responsibility. It's not easy to do.
I would say, I guess oh, sorry, Ohara, go ahead.
Yeah, I just feel that in general, maybe Oda had the feeling that he was not only about to burn his fingers with the Whitebeard and Roger stuff, but also with the Odin stuff in general, because from the perspective, like that's the double-sided, basically both sides of the coin, right? Like when you talk about chapters as they come out, because you have the pleasure of discussing things in the moment, but at the same time you do lack the context in which they take place because you don't know what comes after it. So it really depends so heavily, in my opinion, how this flashback will be remembered, on how what happens next in Wano. Because we, for example, Morj, you and me, we talked a lot about the scabbards and how we would have liked more time for them, but then it's very possible that that's not even a route that Oda is necessarily trying to chase, right? Like maybe the scabbards are a part of Wano, but that is actually not the focus he wants to lay on most of the rest of the arc. That's a possibility. Also with Odin, like it's possible that certain things of his life he wants to save up for other shorter flashbacks. Whatever. Like I personally think while reading the flashback chapter by chapter, it would have been a lot more fulfilling, in my opinion, to get it in a more extensive format. But then when you actually get to read the entire thing, maybe from chapter 1 to chapter 10 or 11 or 12, wherever it's going to end, I think it might feel a lot different, because if you read it as in manga form, right? Like that can get pretty overwhelming pretty fast if you have a lot of information about Odin and Wano, and then suddenly there's a whole bunch of chapters about Whitebeard and Roger, and then you suddenly get back to Wano, and then you suddenly start going into a lot of stuff again. So I would see how, from that perspective, maybe Oda or his editor said, okay, like we kind of have to like slow it down now because we loaded so much information on the people that, you know, we kind of want to go back to the main thing, because there's still so much shit we're going to show in Wano. And it comes down a bit to the length argument as well, I feel, because you, like you said, you expect Wano to be maybe 200 plus chapters, and as you say, there would definitely have been a lot more material up to this point to push it that far, but maybe that's just not what they're planning. Maybe they're saying, no, we definitely want to finish this arc in X chapters, and we can't just like keep staying in Odin's Wano when there's still so much we have to wrap up in the current storyline.
If that was the case, then I think you could make the argument that it was a mistake to do it in the way that they did it then. Because if you're focusing on a smaller amount of chapters, then instead of expanding the scope of what you need to discover, you would actually narrow it so that the narrative is more compact, so that you could actually follow one storyline to that emotional end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for example, for me personally, I don't know how you feel about it, I loved the Roger Whitebeard stuff. Like it was basically stuff people have been wanting forever. Like, oh, I can't wait to see a chap. Like, how cool would it be to actually see Whitebeard in his youth? How cool would it be to actually see Roger, like, on his adventures? Like, I love these chapters and I love these sequences, but I'm wondering, was it really necessary to put them in there right now? Like, what was that really something we had to see?
That's actually an interesting topic, Ohara, because I actually asked the same question. What I posed after the last chapter is that I wondered if this flashback with the section with Whitebeard and Roger might have came at the wrong time in the story. Because in the essence of how this works for Odin as a character, you could have argued that these might have been better served coming from someone like Shanks.
That's true. I wonder though, that stuff that I kind of try and stay away from, just because we have to see where the direction the arc goes. Because Oda usually, I feel at least, he has a very tight idea of like why he's doing things at a certain point and what idea is being like set up or communicated there. So I don't know for sure why Whitebeard and Roger were introduced here. I hope it's not just because he wanted to add that extra degree of hype to the arc, but I don't believe that's the case. I think generally when Oda does stuff like that, it is setting up for something or for some sort of purpose. So I do believe that the narrative of Wano, I also believe that Wano is still going to go on longer than people think. So I do think that there's more to the arc than we've seen so far. So I think I would evaluate that towards the end of the arc. But Ohara, I would agree with both of you guys. Basically, just that, like, from Ohara, I guess your end, I definitely think that when this is all binge read together, Odin's story, it might actually work a lot better than I think so far. And definitely, I think, expectations can kind of hurt what actually ends up coming. It's just that with this flashback, even just Oda including that scene of all the Straw Hats, like, listening to the story and being absolutely enthralled and, like, crying and laughing and stuff like that. If Oda's going to go and hype that up, I guess, in advance, then, like, I would hope to see that at least. But that could still come by the end of the flashback.
Yeah, that's something that I'm glad you brought that up, Morj, because I was going to comment this later on in the video, is that whenever we saw like the montage of them being silently told what Odin's flashback was, I've been questioning what purpose did that serve for the Straw Hats to be told that, and the answer we still don't know. So hopefully the end of the flashback answers that.
Yeah, I think the Straw Hats do have to be aware of, for whatever reason, it seems like the Straw Hats have to be aware of whatever Odin's story was.
As of right now, it doesn't
And
really seem like there was a purpose, because it hasn't affected what they've been doing, or at least not vocally. Maybe it'll be by, like, whenever this ends, as they're going to the Fire Festival, maybe there'll be some kind of tie or connection there that Odin can kind of bring in.
Yeah, I guess, okay, I think going back to whatever, I guess, did Oda hype too much for this, or were our expectations wrong? I feel like it falls somewhere. I think we have 3 different opinions on this, I guess, because I think, Ohara, your angle is our expectations for what it was going to be did not match up what it's going to actually be like in the grand context of the arc once it's finished, and in the context of the arc once it's finished, it might have been right the way it was done. And I guess, Drizzt, your perspective is Oda should not have set up a story that's like got this level of hype and this level of ambition if he didn't intend to fully commit to it. I think, or he didn't have like a fully fleshed out story for each beat of Odin's backstory or whatever. I think I give Oda a lot of credit in my mind, because like in my mind, as I know and from interviews and stuff and just stuff he does with some small characters, I kind of believe that he did have a very ambitious story and like a fully fledged story in mind for what Odin's entire like journey would be. Like I do legitimately think that he had a plan for at least like a short story for maybe each of the retainers or something like that, because he thinks a lot about a lot of these small characters, and like he's got a little story for like Sugar and Monet that didn't really come out in the story. He's got like lots of like stories for like Beppo and how he met Law and stuff like that. I think Oda has lots of stories that don't fully make it to the manga. Same with this, like what we saw last chapter. I do think Oda could have easily executed Odin's character arc, over the course of 969 really well over the course of 2 or 3 chapters. I think he just had a very ambitious storyline in mind, and then just because of, maybe I'm giving him too much credit here, but that's my feeling based on this man's creativity. I don't know if it's whether it's editors, his own desire to move the story arc along, declining sales or something like that at this moment. Maybe it's fucking Kiminitsu no Yaiba, which would make me really annoyed.
Yeah,
and I
but
would
yeah,
never read
blame
that story.
Demon Slayer.
I would blame Demon Slayer if that ever came out, that Oda, if he ever says in an interview that he moved Odin's flashback along for that sake. I just think that he had a very ambitious story in mind, and he could have done it his way but there were constraining reasons that forced him to squish it, and now I think the only part of it that we're going to get in full is going to be this climax of it. So maybe I'm giving him a lot of credit there, but that is...
I think you're fair in giving him that credit. And for me, the kind of issue is that I feel as though, and I guess people have different opinions on this, that like a lot was kind of promised with the character of Odin. So like a lot of what Wano is kind of rides or dies on Odin as a character. So what I'm hoping is that, because you guys know I have quite the negative aspect towards Act 2 of Wano, which we've debated in the past.
What?
I know, shocking.
Wait, what? Wait,
what? Drizzt, you're like the...
Goda!
Since when are you negative?
Goda! But my honest expectations going into the Odin flashback is I've never been disappointed by a flashback before. And my concern right now with how Oda structures, I don't know what his intent was in mind. We'll have to find out as we go in later to the arc. But I feel as though maybe this might under-deliver and it could affect the future of where the arcs. If Oda does montage it, God forbid, then for me that would be like a heavy blow to the arc if that was montaged. Hopefully not. But as of right now, personally, I don't know how you guys feel. This would probably be on the lower end of all of the flashbacks in One Piece for me.
It depends if you're comparing. If it's in terms of hype, then the how quickly forget. I don't know how you felt about the Roger Whitebeard stuff. Maybe that wasn't as cool for you. Maybe if I don't know. But the Roger Whitebeard stuff, everything we got in that stretch, I really really liked. So this flashback right now ranks really low for me in terms of like emotion, but really high for me in terms of like how much I liked it in general, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, I'm going to judge it based on the emotion because that's what I was looking for going into it. So
I kind of disagree with you guys.
That's not allowed.
Because that's a first. No, but like because for me, I so there's definitely things I didn't enjoy. So I would have enjoyed better in this flashback and that I would have preferred to see differently. But at the same time, I still think we have to be fair enough to actually look at the flashback compared to other flashbacks side by side. And I'm not saying you guys are not doing that, but I'm just saying if we got a Robin flashback or I don't know a Sanji flashback right now, like I would be curious to see what you would say, Morj, or what you would say, Drizzt, because if we got a Sanji flashback of like 2 or 3 chapters now, and it would be like, oh, so like what am I supposed to feel here right now? You know, like, oh yeah, okay, he went to that island and then he's almost starved, but then he got saved, and it was all like in 2 chapters. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm not saying like that's not legit. I'm just saying
I don't know. I still disagreed with that because, like, Sanji's flashback, which was a very short flashback, it was more than, like, a couple chapters. Like,
it was like 3-4 chapters.
For example, Odin's whole story that happened in 969, that was still 1 chapter no matter how much you spin it. Whereas Sanji's backstory, like I guess if you say, like, oh, we're in the new world, we don't want, like, we want some flashbacks with, like, Law's backstory is closer to how old backstories were, but because we're in the new world, we still expect some spice. Like, we expect to see, like, Suru popping in or Sengoku popping in. Yes, those flashbacks would miss that. But in terms of straight emotion, like even Sanji's flashback, which I don't put up that high, like I think it would still hold up. Like it worked. It was executed better, I still feel, than for example 969 from Odin's flashback. So I don't know how I would feel if it came out today.
It would all depend on the context. Like what's the intent?
And it's Oh shit! I totally forgot that Brago was coming
surprise
in.
Guest.
I'll just finish this thought, I guess. Like, I don't know, like, for example, you could flip it the other way and definitely say that, like, if we got this flashback back then, or, like, earlier in the story, maybe it would have been even more hype, because, like, Roger and Whitebeard would have been, like, just insane, like, maybe right after Marineford, if we got this flashback, we would have been, like, going nuts to see Roger and Whitebeard like that and stuff like that. So, I agree that maybe the context matters, but if I had to narrow it down to just, you know, like, what do I feel from the story so far? I do feel like what happened last chapter doesn't compare to how Oda would have drawn out, like, Robin's backstory, for example. But there's also nostalgia and stuff, dude.
Yo, back like we never left.
Hey,
hello, everyone.
Raga, what's going on?
What's going on?
You guys just started like 5 minutes ago, right?
Do you have your microphone and your
Yeah, it's already
audition
recording. Morj sent me an email. Yeah,
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
we're good.
For a second, I was like, shit, did I tell
Yeah,
him?
it's already
But I'm
recording.
pretty sure
Yeah.
I did,
We definitely want to hear your angle on the chapter. Only thing I want to say, Morj, is so I rather meant it in a way that for me the flashback with Odin is doing multiple things that like the previous flashbacks didn't have to do, right?
No, I agree.
It has to carry the load of introducing Odin as a character, because like all the flashbacks we've gotten so far, those have been characters we've actually met in the story, and we're getting their history, maybe with the exception of the Jaya one with the Noland.
But this is actually the Jaya flash. I did really like this. That's one that I forget about. I did really like that Skype.
Calgary Nolan is goated.
It's really
it
good.
was a good flashback. But like, you know, Odin is a character we didn't know, so he's new. We meet him. He has to be introduced. Then he has to be developed. He also has to have the emotional compact that we're hopefully gonna get now. in Wano at one point, and then at the same time we have to move through his entire life because he's already dead.
Dude,
That
I
is
totally
something-
agree. I 100% agree that this flashback has more work to do than others. But then, if it's like that's not
That's not an excuse.
like give
you
it a
can
pass.
use, I don't
because
think.
No,
that
it's
just-
not. It's
yeah.
not an. It's not an
Okay.
excuse. I
Oh, I
agree with
totally
that.
agree. It's not like a fair comparison, even because it is a much
Yeah, that
weightier
was rather my
flashback to
point.
do. I guess I'm just saying, like, what would I feel at the end of it? I would
Yes.
feel, yeah,
Right.
I guess that's that.
Yeah, I guess that was, yeah. You're right. So that my point was rather being, I feel it's a bit unfair to compare it to like a couple of other flashbacks just because of the weight it has to carry.
It is,
And-
yeah, apples and oranges.
And I guess it like, oh yeah, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say,
Brago
if we
Drizzt.
wanted to like try and catch Brago up, I can ask him what I basically asked you guys to like start this entire thing, which was Brago Drizzt.
Yes.
Did
That's what
the
you said at the start
Viz
of this?
scanlation change anything that you thought about the chapter?
No, it didn't.
Do you like it right away or dislike it?
I
right
really
away?
liked the chapter right away. To piggyback off what you guys are talking about in regards to Odin, with Kagura and Norland, did we have any indication we were getting a flashback beforehand? We didn't, right?
I don't think so. Not that
Well,
I
we
remember.
had
Not really. Just
in Jayo,
popped
we
right
were
in, right?
told the child book story
right,
version.
right. But that didn't
of
give me
Nolan.
an indication like
Yeah,
we need a flashback.
There
to
was
that
no
point.
indication. Yeah.
For Odin, it was clear that a flashback was coming. Like this and Odin, I think, was just built up to all hell. Like this amazing person, this amazing character that the Scabbards were following. They were willing to do anything for this person. So we were like, all right, a flashback is coming. We're going to get introduced to Odin. He's a silhouette. He's scarred. And then we find out he scarred Kaido. All this stuff is like, all right, we have to find out about Odin. And I don't know, when we first started talking about it, I remember we threw out chapter numbers. We said 15 chapters, right? Like early was like, because it needed time to develop. And then from the beginning of the flashback was that 959 or 960. It was really slow. The first chapter in the flashback was really slow. It was like giving us Kinemon, Suru, all this was like, all right, this makes sense to kind of build up Odin. Then I feel like after that chapter, then we started getting like some montages of just like, all right, the Scabbards. We got all the Scabbards in like one chapter, I believe.
Yep. All of them.
Got like all of them. Like Kinemon, like after Kinemon and Denjiro, we got all of them in like one chapter.
Nekomamushi, I think, got
Yeah.
the neck. Yeah,
Yeah, because we got the
all
two, and then they
bulk.
washed up on shore, all this stuff. And
Yeah, at the end of that chapter.
Oh, true. So we
and
did
then
get all of them.
you introduced Whitebeard and Roger in the flashback. And then that kind of took away some of the focus from Odin, because now all I care about is, all right, I want to know more about Whitebeard. Like, when did Blackbeard join the crew? I want to know more about Roger. Does Roger and Whitebeard fight? It kind of took away from Odin a lot, and they tried to reel it back in with the whole meeting with Whitebeard, Roger, and Odin when they talked about the One Piece and Roger making asking Odin to join his crew. But then it's like I still feel like we don't know exactly. We needed some more time with Odin and the Scabbards. I think we should have focused more about that, because that was the main point I felt when we went back from the
At the beginning, you mean?
yeah, with like that needed more time to flesh it out. Like every Scabbard should have had maybe half a chapter or so, like more than like what we got. Where it was just like everything just
at least more than a
yeah.
panel.
It was just like, hey, this happened, so just believe it. Let's move on. It was just kind of
Did Ashura Doji?
Ashura
hurt
Doji.
that skin?
Like when he got first introduced, that was the person I cared about the most, because he had to experience everything throughout Wano. So now, like I said this all the time, like the resolution of everything that annoyed me, because it just felt like that's it. He's just okay with everything now. So that was kind of annoying to me. And then we didn't see the Ashura Doji versus Odin fight. And then now with this chapter, where we were trying to figure out what was why did Odin not die till 5 years after everything? Like, what was the whole reason behind it? And to find out that, he was dancing for Orochi, and there are things we don't know. But I think what I liked about it was that it kind of it made sense to me going back to Odin and Odin's introduction, because something everybody had been saying was that, why is Oda pushing this Odin narrative so hard? Like, why is he trying to make Odin the best person possible? Like this larger than life personality. Like everybody's like, okay, we get it. Odin is amazing. Let's move on. Like he was like giving us that, and then I feel like with this chapter, he completely just tore that down. Like he just broke that whole perception of Odin, where
People are
upset. But I think that's
people in Twitter.
For me, I felt like that's what he was trying to do.
Yes.
To kind of, make you hate Odin, make you somewhat feel like the citizens of Wano. Like, why would you do this? How could you stand by? And again, based on everything we know about Odin, like, there's no way that's something he would have done. And now he's doing it. It's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why would he do something like that? So, I
think a large part of that, Brago, is the fact that when people are looking at it and saying and questioning it from the fan perspective, it's almost impossible to think of a reason. Like I haven't heard one good reason as to that it takes into account all of the things that people are questioning. So maybe that played a part in it.
Yeah,
as well.
that's definitely a part.
But I don't personally mind that though. Like I would rather. I mean, it's kind of faith, I guess. But like I totally believe that Oda has a good reason.
Oh,
and maybe I'm totally wrong next chapter. And then I'm just. But
do you mean a reason that Oda's acting that Odin is acting that way?
Yes, whatever happened.
Because I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Like I think he means
Odin
a reason that takes into account all of the gripes that people had.
Which
for sure. But I'm definitely. I don't know how you felt about it, Brago, but like. I think you could definitely feel that there's some real tragedy in the background of this chapter, which I personally only felt in the reread. Like there's
it better be.
Like, I hope, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It better be.
Or everything completely falls apart.
But it was hinted.
I mean, it was hinted at, but it can't just be something just super simple. It has to be like a huge reason that makes sense for Odin to not do anything for 5 years. And I think what kind of messed it up as well was that it all took place in one chapter. It was
yeah.
That was the thing that we were all
the
kind
plot
of
began
on,
in one and ended in the same chapter.
That
was 5 years.
The execution of that was just not
optimal at all.
No.
Yeah.
Because if you saw Odin, right, like even if it's a montage, we shown us day by day, he's like fighting with this. Like he's going and he's fucking like swinging Enma like crazy every night because he's trying to restrain himself. Then it's like, okay, it somewhat makes sense for his character because he's holding himself back. But we just said Odin, he did this for 5 years, and it's like, what?
Yeah, like the way it makes it sound is that he had no contingency plan. He was doing the same thing for 5
years,
just on blind faith.
It would be cool if it was like, all right, during this 5 years, I want us to get stronger. Well, I want us to train. I want us to get stronger.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I got a different impression, Drizzt. Like for me, it wasn't, and maybe that's a point where a lot of people got mad, and I think that's how I took it initially. That people thought, how could Odin have so much faith for such a long time in Orochi? But I personally didn't take it that way when I reread it. For me, it was rather like. And I don't I'd like to know if that's a good enough reason for you, Brago, but the way I see it is that with the poison arrows and everything, that Orochi just basically took the entirety of Wano's population hostage against Odin, saying, if you don't do what I tell you, like, people are gonna die and you can't touch me.
I don't think that's a good reason.
That's fine until the end of the chapter where they
Yes, so then Orochi kind of crossed that line, in which case Odin said...
The reason that doesn't work for me is that it doesn't change anything. So let's say Odin, he got threatened, the entire country will burn down if you don't listen to me. Then all he's doing for the 5 years is letting Orochi do what he wants, and things are going to get worse anyway. So there has to be a reason beyond just physical threat.
It has to be...
you mean like...
it's Void Sentry stuff. It has to be.
I would assume so, yeah, bro.
It has to be Void Sentry stuff.
Because the boat or whatever comes into play.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I don't know. I will not criticize the chapter for the part that we don't know, like the question mark, which is Odin's actions. And like I think we all said that we do like the concept of what Odin had to go through this chapter. It was just the speed of it, right? So like
it was
execution matters.
It was too fast. Like we needed to see some day by day stuff where Odin is like he's breaking down. Like,
well, I think it would have been like. Maybe this will make more sense afterwards. When like, why did it have to be 5 years? Was it just 5 years just to make the number inflated? So it's like, oh, he did that for 5 years. maybe maybe looking back on it, if it does turn out that it was just like numbers for inflation, maybe it would have been a little bit more powerful if it was just like one storyline.
Yeah.
Where it's like one narrative and it ended up with Odin doing
But
this.
because
and, like,
Luffy's
that was the end of it,
involved,
kind of
and
thing.
then the 20-year skip, and it's like, is it all just to make the numbers work?
Well, like it
But
can't
Oda could
really
have
be
made
that
the numbers
because
he could have made it
however-
work without like all the
yeah,
happening.
there are so many ways to.
He could have
make
gone
it
back
work
to
without
Wano
doing the
and then fight Kaido. Like it just been on
yeah,
the season.
the way it could have worked is that he would have left Wano a little bit later and then came back
Yeah.
the same point in time, like whatever happens.
Or go find Whitebeard first,
A
right?
problem
Go find Whitebeard first.
Yeah, a problem I also have with the chapter or with the flashback in general, which I guess goes also a bit back to what you said earlier about like the missing scenes of where, like you said, Odin showing his frustration and stuff. I feel there is Oda is not doing a. I'm not sure if saying he's not doing a good job is fair to him, but like I feel he could be expressing like he hasn't been doing a good job with expressing Odin's interior world as good as I hoped he would be able to in certain
He feels like he
moments.
feels
So
like the narration
we get like
is taking care of it.
yeah, we get like his like diary entries, and like sometimes he says stuff, but we rarely get like emotional close-ups of his face or like short sequences where we actually can see what's going on. There's like very little text, like descriptive text, like going into what he's actually feeling. And I'm like, maybe that's on purpose, but if it's on purpose, I think it's misdirected because I think people need to understand the state of mind that Odin has been in this chapter, right? And I think giving it more time, giving it another chapter or two would definitely have helped because you can just flesh that out. But even if he wanted to do it in one chapter, he could have at least added a bit more. Like I think the only giveaway we get is like the face where he's like laughing but like crying is like the strongest thing, the closest thing we get to like seeing his internal conflict, which I missed in general a bit, which also maybe takes away from the emotional
Could
component.
Oda give some more context on the things he found out about Odin in the beginning of his story, where like all those different things he did, and it kind of comes off as him just being like a bad kid. Could he give us some more in regards to the situations to say Odin was actually doing everything for a purpose? Like, could he round all of that out?
Because that's the feeling you got at the that's the feeling you get at the beginning of the flashback, right? That Odin is actually a person. Like everyone says, oh, he does this, he does that, but in the end, it was hinted at that he's always covering up for others.
Right.
He's always doing stuff to protect others, and that Odin didn't follow.
But I would like to know why the other situations happened. Like we know the Kinemon situation, like with the boar, right? Like
Mountain God.
the mountain god. But I would like to know like what's up with the gambling and all that different stuff.
To me, that's
Mountain
fine.
God
Though.
Jr..
That's like I think that was the point, basically. Like it didn't have to be spelled out for us that Odin was not the bad guy in each of these situations. It was like we got to see one of those events happen live, and then we can infer that he's been like this his entire life. Although some of those are hard.
Right, exactly. It's just like I don't understand how this would be. He'd be a good guy.
I think still that there is I do hope at least that in this final section of the flashback, like Whitebeard, for example, did seem like a larger than life figure for a large portion of his Marineford stint. But then once we got to a certain point, we did start hearing those internal thoughts. Like I really like that Scored scene, for example. I think that was the first scene that really opened up Whitebeard a lot to who he actually was underneath all that. So I do still hope that we can get that for Odin, like something very similar for Odin, at least in these last few chapters. But if we don't, then I definitely agree with you, Ohara, that like Oda did, like he made a character that's like a really cool, likable character on paper, but maybe didn't delve under like
Whitebeard was handled really
inside,
well in a minimal amount of chapters. When you think back.
Oh yeah, for the character archetype that he was, it was about as good as it could be. I think.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be much better. Yeah,
Whitebeard.
Yeah.
Whitebeard, Whitebeard.
I also liked Roger a lot, to be honest. Like I was a bit anxious about how Oda was going to portray him, but I was happy.
Roger's great.
Yes.
I like
Roger. I think was a risk because Oda could only risk like making us dislike Roger at a certain point because like Roger, we're so excited to see him at a certain point. So I don't think we saw too much underneath Roger, but I think the portrayal of Roger that we got for those few chapters was really likable, I think. And I want to see more of him in, like,
it was,
Rock's
but
flashback,
then because it was Odin's flashback, I feel like he sacrificed some of the characters. It
overshadowed Odin for sure. Like, I was interested
even during
in seeing
Roger, like, the journey that Odin had with Roger, it was basically just Roger.
I just want to know.
Right, yeah,
you
so-
know, in Odin.
So yeah, in the context of does that work for Odin, that's questionable. But does it work for Roger? Yeah, it does. And there were a lot of like little hints that there could be details further fleshed out, and let's say, a Garp flashback or a Shanks flashback, like his sickness.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that gets kind of fleshed out.
Maybe with Shanks.
Something
Probably
along
with
those lines.
Shanks.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And it's also difficult because remember Blackbeard was in this
that would be really
flashback
good.
too, so it's like.
Yeah, he was just there for lore purposes.
And then another character that I really wanted to get some more from was like Rayleigh,
Dude, Rayleigh got robbed that flashback. I thought we were gonna see so much.
and
of
it's
Rayleigh,
because you
considering-
can't. Because Rayleigh is so amazing, you can't give us too much Rayleigh because again, it more so takes away from Odin. So remember that meeting that it was like Roger, Odin, and Whitebeard. Rayleigh should have been in that meeting. Like, there's no reason
True.
why Rayleigh shouldn't be
Yeah.
there.
Rayleigh should have clashed with Odin. I maintain that. I would have liked to have
100%.
seen
Like,
that.
but it's like it kind of takes away from it because that's Rayleigh, and everybody's gonna be rooting for Rayleigh. So it's like,
I think it would have given equal height both ways. Like people would have liked seeing Odin do that, but then people would have been like, "Oh, did you see
bro,
what
when,
Rayleigh
when I
did?"
talked
So,
about
don't
it,
know.
like because I was talking about like Odin versus Rayleigh, who's stronger. Like everybody's like, "Nah, it's Rayleigh, no question, it's like Rayleigh."
Didn't you put out some video or something like that, which was like,
Yeah.
I think addressing it. Like now we know who Odin fought.
Well,
or
I had
Rayleigh
put it
fought or
out
something
like
that.
I put out a few videos beforehand talking about like Whitebeard's second commander. I was like, right now it doesn't make sense because there was nobody that could fight on par with Rayleigh. So it had to be somebody that was really powerful that could come through. So then it makes sense now it's Odin. But then in that whole fight, like I expected the Roger pirates to be a lot stronger than the Whitebeard pirates, but then they fought for 3 days.
They
They
tied.
tied. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it was more brawl than.
I guess,
Like,
but
I
if
mean-
we go
It
off of the
doesn't
hype,
change, like, the
hype of
implication.
Rayleigh, right?
It depends how strong you think Marco was at that time. If you think Marco was like pretty much at his or getting to his peak, then you're like, okay, Marco tied with Bronze or something like that. That's pretty impressive for Bronze. right?
I don't
Like,
know because they're
I mean, I think-
they're
Equal to a
kids
Yonko
though.
first
Like
mate.
Marco, like
yeah, they're like all not in their prime. I don't think.
yeah,
Yeah,
Josie was
I
still
know, I don't know.
Josie was
No,
like
Marco
what
was a little
12
older
or
at that
14, something like that.
Joseph looks like he hasn't grown any hair yet.
like it was weird, and Vista seems to be like the strongest commander Whitebeard had, and I don't think Vista back then is hanging with like a prime Rayleigh, right? But
The only way it makes sense, like I think Oda just did that just so like he could have that there.
yeah, that's it.
But yeah, it's really hard to justify with like what people believe in power scaling.
Yeah.
So I think this Oda just did that.
Marco was like Ace's age at that point, right? I don't really know how old he was. I'm just trying to rationalize it in my head. I'm trying to say like Marco
Marco was
probably
in
close
his
enough to
teens
prime.
still, right?
Okay, all right. We
Yeah,
can
yeah.
get away from this, I think.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I
Okay,
think
so
you make
overall,
an
Brago, you
important.
like the chapter.
Oh yeah, just one quick statement
Or
I'd like to do. Sorry,
don't have to
before we
wait then.
Stupid.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
because I think an important thing that Brago pointed out is that I feel in general a problem of the flashback was that we had a lot of characters overshadowing other characters.
Yeah.
Like we had Odin strongly overshadowing the Scabbards in the flashback, and then we had Odin being overshadowed by Whitebeard and Odin being overshadowed by Roger. So
It just keeps going.
In a
And
way,
then
yeah, in a way.
And then I'll say this: Roger was overshadowed by Joy Boy by
Yeah.
the end. To be honest,
Yeah.
because it was like Joy Boy.
It's
didn't even show
weird.
up.
And then thinking
Um,
back to this chapter, I think this chapter took away like one of the traits of Odin that we really liked. Like he was like a no nonsense guy that was always moving forward no matter what. And this chapter kind of like took all that away. So it's like, all right, so why is Odin so great again?
But that's the thing. We want
Yeah.
to know what it was that caught. Like I like that. It could be good, right? It could be good because we know what Odin's
Yeah.
supposed to be. We know that what we saw this chapter was dramatically not what Odin's supposed to be. So what is that missing piece? If the missing piece is satisfying, then I think, regardless of how fast you think the chapter was, I think if the missing piece is satisfying, then it will it will
Honestly,
be good for
I
Odin's
think
character
inevitably
overall.
we may have characters just overshadowing another because for Odin to be great, Kaido has to be downplayed.
And if Kaido is downplayed, then that
And it-
I don't think I even need to say what that would mean.
so
No. Well, look, I mean, Kaido is Kaido. Like, Kaido just one-shot at Luffy, right? So, like, I think Odin just has to have a really good, impressive showing against Kaido without beating Kaido. I think
Well, no,
that's all.
yeah.
Like
all it
for
needs
me,
to
an
be.
optimal situation would just be like just have Kaido win. It's
No,
not.
Kaido
It's not
will
a down.
win.
Like
I don't think Kaido will definitely win.
I don't think you
what
can have
I'm
it where
concerned about, Morj, is that
Yeah.
I feel like the implication of whenever the Straw Hats heard the flashback not only implies to what they did to make Odin dance, but how he got defeated.
Yeah.
I feel like it will be some
bullshit.
Kaido didn't
I personally
defeat.
will not like
Yeah.
that.
Kaido did not defeat
Fair and
Odin
square.
in combat.
It
Kaido
wasn't fair.
tricked him. Orochi had some impact where he was forced to die.
I think I think how the flashback set it up, it makes it seem like Kaido and Orochi did something, some trickery, and Odin wasn't beaten fair and square.
Yeah, it was not. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be fair. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel quite strong.
It might have been the 5 years. It might have been the 5 years of degradation that they were so outraged at, and then Orochi breaking his promise.
But then,
in that
yeah,
case, we
but
kind
then
of
it's
already
like,
missed that triggering
yeah,
moment.
I mean,
I think there's a lot. Look, it's Kaido though. Like I think it's Kaido. I don't think Oda would go the route of building up this character to be the strongest creature, unbeatable in a 1v1 supposedly.
You want to hold that to a bet?
Stuff. I won't take that
depends.
bet. But like that's what I believe.
It depends because
we'll see.
I mean, something that was slightly annoying. I don't care about it as much, but it was like, okay, it was the barrier. It's just like,
Oh, well, I feel like there's got to be something there because like that's so weird.
What do you mean,
with
like,
like
something
first
there?
like Mr. Tooth fruit and then the barrier fruit. I'm like,
listen,
Are you, like,
Odin.
I don't. Are you really just throwing that in for laughs or like?
I just don't understand.
There has to be something there, no?
right? Someone like a Kozuki who can imprint on the poneglyphs, who can scar Kaido, is being restricted by a barrier. Like it's really hard to fathom someone of that level being stopped by just a barrier.
Dude, I legit think that Roger couldn't stop.
Really?
Touch that. Okay, people will disagree with this, but I legit think that that's stuff that King, whatever his name is, Elizabella says about the King Punch is legit. He blew away Pika with a punch from like across an island. I don't think Kaido can do that. I don't think Big Mom could do that. Like we've
Kaido
seen,
has
like
his fire breath.
Elbaf spear is kind of.
Elbaf Spear is not even close to like destroying all of Pika from across an island.
How do we
like,
know
I
that?
legit think that King Punch is as strong as it's hyped up to be, and that like the barrier
But
fruit is legit.
I hear you
that
that more, but
stop
then why
anything.
didn't Oda just like double down on it when they asked him about it? Be like, well, yeah, it's unbreakable. He said some like a weird equation as to how strong it was. He never said it was like, yeah, it was
Did
like
he?
an SBS where they asked him.
Like, like
it.
Oda does, like
Oh.
it's like
What?
Luffy
say
can
it's like
stretch like
1,000
700
berries?
Gomu Gomus.
yeah,
It was
it's like
kinda
something silly.
Yeah, it was like
it's like
something like
it can take 500 Bari.
But
something
you're right.
like
That's
that.
like how Oda is. But it's just
Yeah.
weird. It's just so weird to me. Like,
Dude, I thought like at least with that scene, like it was just to get Odin
Right,
to
right,
stop
that was,
for a
like,
second
yeah.
to have
But is it-
whatever that scene. But I totally think Odin could have like figured a way around it, or like
For me, I actually
like,
agree with you, Morj.
he's
I
fast
think
enough
that
or
the
whatever.
idea is that even Roger, I don't think anyone can break that barrier through brute force. You have to
Yeah, same,
strategize around
same.
it. I think what would have made that scene better is because Oda obviously just wanted to get to the point. Like, okay, imagine in your minds, blah blah blah. He couldn't do
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But like it might have been a little better just to like spend some time. Like if he was really enraged, like have him like chop at the ground, try to get like under the barrier,
Or
kinda like
have-
how it was in Dressrosa.
Or have the character, give some exposition like this is only stopping him because, X, instead of it just being there, to leaving up to
It just
speculation.
comes down to execution, which was like the rest of the chapter. So
yeah.
we'll see how the rest of that. I'm sure we're gonna get that piece filled in. of
It's
what
not a
happened
major
next.
thing. It's just
and then we'll
annoying.
know whether to riot. Or
It's
whatever.
just a small
thing.
detail. What I'm really interested in talking to you guys about is because obviously we're all curious about like Odin versus Kaido. But, like, what do you guys think about the scabbards? Because like they also because so far they haven't done anything pretty much, and then like this is supposed to be like their battle, right, where they are becoming this legendary force that Orochi's now in the present.
It's
time
hard to
scared
care
of
about
for some
them.
reason.
Well, not okay. It's hard to care about any of their fights, right? Because back then, the ages of Kaido's commanders and the people that Kaido should have with him. I guess with King and those guys, Jack was 8 years old. It's like it's a whole.
he was 8 years old, but he looked like he was
Jack
28.
was 8 years old.
It's like
that was so
it's like
weird.
it's
when
like
Oda
a
just released that
weird
Jack's,
thing.
like-
So it's just the only fight I care about is Kaido versus Odin. Ashura Doji I would have if I saw the fight between him and Odin, but I'm not as interested anymore.
Yeah. Also with like how much I feel like Oda's willing to show.
Yeah, we're not gonna see
If
it.
Ashura Doji is going to be up in the, I don't think he's going to show
Yeah,
anything.
he's not gonna show anything.
Well, Ashura Doji, they're supposedly Kaido runs into them on the way to the palace.
Him and Denjiro,
Kaido
him and Denjiro
remembers
held
them
off
from back
Kaido.
then.
Yeah, they confronted him.
But then it's
I
like
hope this
context.
shows-
Was Kaido
I
drunk
believe
at this
Oda will
time?
show
Did he just
something.
fly away? You know, it was just.
Another context is this even Yonko Kaido?
And the thing is, if Odin is able to do this, it's like, and if Kaido can't beat Odin fair and square, then you have to assume Kaido probably isn't Yonko Kaido at that point, right? Or unless you scale
Either that or
scale Odin up.
Odin is that good.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I just don't feel like the type of villain that Kaido is, Oda would bring him down from that 1v1 status before we get... Because that kills the weight of what's going to happen in the current story.
I would agree with you, Morj, but I feel like maybe this is just my opinion, but like I feel like one of the things in One Piece is that we never get that one-on-one stuff. There's always some underlying factor. Something went wrong. It's never as clear cut because Oda doesn't like to reveal like power levels like that. Like who would win in a 1v1? I don't know. Luffy would have thought of something in Dressrosa if he hadn't been
why did he
X,
say
Y, or
that?
Z.
Like,
That's
why did he?
the same thing.
Yeah, but with Kaido, I feel like it's if Kaido can't beat Odin, for example, and Kaido has this reputation of the 1v1 thing, I think that is a case where Oda would want to establish that this character does sit at the top, or is close to, like, he's the top dog in theory.
You'd have to assume Odin is that guy.
I definitely think that, like, having him lose right now would do a lot to kind of kill that sort of... Like, I could see him having him tie with Big Mom for a few days, that makes sense, but, like, having the past protagonist, like, the protagonist of the past, Odin, have beaten him, I do think that...
But then it's like, is Oda trying to say that Odin is, the next Ryuma, in which Ryuma was protecting Wano by himself, seemingly based on the lore? Is like Odin that same person that could do that? Like, is that what he's trying to tell us about Odin?
And then is Zoro that same
man.
person? I'm not sorry.
My man.
All right, but
Oh my God.
Bring the cancer.
dude, if Odin beats Kaido, the Zoro fans are just gonna take that and run. Like that.
I'm not even gonna go on Twitter if that happens.
Yeah, it's
If well, the thing is,
I'm just worried that I think that might happen. I don't know. I
Yeah,
would
I don't know.
prefer
I
if
honestly
Odin
didn't-
just
I
just
never thought
lost,
that
'cause it would
was-
be tragic. Like, oh, we believed in Odin, and then even at the end of the day, he wasn't good enough.
that's what I
does
think
all
it is.
this okay?
That's personally
Does
what I think
Odin
it is.
losing, or say Odin losing and tricked, say whatever he gave the scar to Kaido? Does he die the same day? What do you guys think?
You see,
I
this is
think
actually
so.
a
I guess
question
soon after,
because
at
something
least.
I saw on Twitter is that in the shadow that Odin was originally introduced, he has a mustache.
Oh shit!
He doesn't have a mustache.
Ooh, Kaido?
Unless Oda
Oh,
forgot.
Odin, you mean?
Unless Oda forgot that he.
Well,
He drew him
yeah,
with
he
the
definitely had a
flash from the
mustache
When
in the
was the shadow
silhouette,
shown?
but Oda has been
Yeah, the
terrible.
silhouette had a
He's been terrible with silhouettes.
It's in the same arc though.
I mean, yeah.
Wait, Drizzt, which chapter?
It's the one where it's the one where the Ashura Doji is first referenced.
Oh,
Is
Act
that when
one, maybe?
Kinemon is talking about Odin fighting?
It's whenever
Act one
Kinemon
for
was
sure.
talking about it, and we see like in the flat,
Yeah.
we see like the character
Yeah.
model
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Odin is he has a flashback. He has a mustache clearly.
So, if that is anything, then when he lost to Kaido, then something else happened after that.
Maybe he lived for another. Maybe he was captured and thrown into the Udon. I don't
It's
know.
kind of anticlimactic, but
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what the payoff of Odin's story is going to be like in the obviously like we have all the implications for the Void Century in the end game, but like for the current arc, because if like it might be that Oda goes the way and says, okay, like the lesson here is Odin was this strong, but he didn't like take his 9 companions, so he failed. Like he did everything on his own, but like then
I mean, we see him with them. I mean, I think
yeah, now
I
he
wonder if for
takes
the
them
actual
kind of-
fight whether he's going to be. I feel like for the actual fight he would run in alone.
And then another part of this
versus
that
Kaido at
maybe
least.
Oda is going to reveal later in Wano is that I think Kaido knows a bit more than Orochi.
About Void
About
Centuries,
Void Century stuff, but about even with Odin, right?
Yeah, what he did
Yeah,
and stuff.
even with Toki stuff, because
That he was with yeah, he must.
Dofi knew about Momo and Kinemon. Like he knew about them, so more than likely got that information from a Kaido. But where would Kaido get that information? I mean, obviously there's a traitor, but the traitor has to
I
be
forgot about the
someone
traitor.
that knows about what Toki did and knows about Kinemon and Momonosuke, all that stuff. But
I mean, I'm just curious where there's going to be the point where Oda says like, okay, this is why Luffy succeeded at what Odin failed at. Like defeating Kaido, defeating Orochi, opening the borders. Like there has to be like this. At least for me, I'm waiting for this moment where it's like, this is what's different
He's the
about
chosen one.
Luffy.
No, I agree with you that, like, that's part of the reason why I feel like it makes little sense for Oden to just fail here because of, like, poison or trickery. Like, there has to be, like, that would be the point of the story, right? Like, as I see it, the Scabbards certainly parallel the Straw Hats. Odin certainly parallels Luffy in terms of what he means to them, or whatever. So, whatever the direction this story goes has to be relevant to the way that the rest of Wano is going to go for Luffy and his crew. So, I just don't. But I mean, I don't know.
But like, even
I don't
in that
know for
sense,
sure, but
though,
that's the
isn't
way I
that
see
kind
it
of step
so
for
far.
Wano as well? Because one of the plot lines that's kind of hanging there is, will Law betray Luffy?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
if
definitely, I
Odin
don't
failed
think
because someone betrayed him at the end, then it would be the same thing.
I think the person that betrayed him.
Yeah, but the betrayal's already happened. Like, and Orochi's not a significant betrayal in the.
No. I mean, what if it was like a scabbard or like someone we don't know, or like
so
whatever.
The person that betrayed him back then could be betraying him. Could be the same person that could be betraying the Alliance now.
Yeah, something like that. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's like for sure,
Yeah.
but
No, actually, you're definitely right on that. That like, I definitely think that betrayal is gonna, not definitely, but I could definitely see betrayal playing a big part in whatever's about.
And it could
to
be the
happen
person we don't know
from
yet.
internal. But I think that in terms of like Odin's actual success or failure versus Kaido, it wouldn't hinge on that. Versus what Luffy's success with his crew would hinge
I
on
think it's
versus
hard
Kaido.
to look at Luffy's success and kind of say, compare it to Odin's because of how Luffy succeeds, it just works. Like it's like
it's not like Luffy does it because he's strong enough.
It's like in some way
Right.
something's gonna happen for Luffy to succeed, even though the odds are against him even more than they were against Odin because we have Big Mom here, and I think the thing that people kind of don't want to happen with Big Mom betraying Kaido could actually happen here.
I think I have like a different view of like Luffy's success because I feel like people often chalk it up to like, well, Luffy succeeds, but like he didn't really succeed or whatever. I always view it as like Oda sets it up so that like Luffy couldn't succeed straight up,
Right.
maybe, but like he can for the moment that
So
matters,
he's
if that
clutch.
makes sense. So like he couldn't beat Crocodile like 2 out of 3 rounds or whatever, but like at the end of that fight, like it's pretty explicit. The chapter's literally called "Surpassing You." And Luffy's literally saying that as he's punching Crocodile. Like, in that moment, I think Luffy surpassed Crocodile or whatever. Same with, like, Luffy versus Katakuri. The final round with Snake Man was what mattered, despite losing most of it. Same with Luffy versus Doflamingo. Like, at the end of the day, at the final round, Luffy was stronger in that moment than Doflamingo. So I view it the same way as this. Like, whatever's gonna happen, like, Luffy won't win. He won't beat Kaido's, like, health bar all the way down. But in the moment that matters, Luffy's gonna surpass Kaido in some way.
I mean, I think that's fine. It's just
Yeah, not like it's a more realistic way.
It's
of
not
doing
gonna be
it, I
Zoro?
suppose.
I think if Zoro, legitimately, if Zoro gets more hype than Kid in this fight,
No,
if it
no.
happens, I think it'd be a disaster.
I'm gonna slip my wrist.
I think it'd be a disaster, honestly. Like it would,
Alright,
as much
alright.
as I want Zoro,
Okay.
Fritz reads the chapter. He's like, "Shit, gotta
Alright,
do
you
it."
that's it.
have it's like Luffy,
it.
Luffy, Zoro, and like some random other person that's not Kid. They
Right.
get like most of the spoils from the war. I'm like, what is going on? Like, okay, it's just.
Yeah. I mean,
it's-
with
Oh,
Kid
Chuka-
especially, I have like some fucking high expectations.
I
for
mean,
this character.
it's now or never.
Like,
It's now or
yeah,
never.
it is.
It's
It is.
now or never.
And I'm also, I mean, Kid is like one of these characters where I'm also so excited. Like, I want to see what happens to him after.
I'm still
Wano,
excited, but I'm
right?
scared that Oda may make this
Oh,
a
don't jinx
a
it.
2-man race, right? Where he kind of already did that.
What, Luffy and
Luffy
Blackbeard?
and Blackbeard, right?
It's got to be like a 3-man.
I
race
hope
for
so.
Oh,
I
Like-
really hope so. But like, kids' bounties, what, like 400 right now?
430,
Oh
something
man,
like that.
but like,
470. I think it's
dude, you're
470.
right. Do you guys really see
470,
that?
Yeah, right?
Right, Brago, yeah.
Luffy's at 1.5 bill. I don't know how he catches up. I don't know.
I mean, I would definitely. I never thought about that. I think a 3-man race would be dope. But
I don't know how it
see that
happens.
happening with Kid because, dude. But like, I mean, like, yes, Kid went his own way, but then like he and like Luffy already like saved his life, kind of. You know.
I think Morj had an idea about this off air.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was gonna mention. I wasn't.
Yeah,
sure
I was-
if should
I think you
mention
should
it. I've
wait,
told you
but-
this before.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea
Don't
in
wait.
regards to.
I'll save it for like a
What? No,
theory
now I want to
day or
know.
something like that.
Shit. You gotta
I'll
tell
tell
me
you guys
later.
after
And that
this
would be a
stuff.
good way because then kid gets more hype.
Comment
and then,
section
you
going.
know,
The comments just
Oh
going.
yeah,
Because we did that.
Wano
We did that
Report.
last time already. We had like a big theory, and then Morj was like, "Oh, don't tell me anymore." And then the comments were like,
But then they
What the fuck?
tune into like when the theory drops really well. So
It wasn't our theory. So it was some theory from some
Yeah.
what was he?
I think a Brazilian guy.
Yeah,
Or
some
Portuguese?
Brazilian
Oh.
YouTuber had like a theory that people thought was really good, so they submitted it to us through
okay.
questions, and we're like, "Can you talk about
No,
this?"
he actually submitted it. Like,
he
to me
submitted
on
it
that's
my
himself.
DMs.
So he's like, "Can
yeah.
you talk about this?" So then Ohara started reading it, and then I'm like, "Oh, this is a pretty juicy theory." And then after a bit, I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, that's enough. That's enough. He's spoiling the story. I don't want to hear anymore." And then the comments were so
I'm not gonna
mad.
lie, like sometimes because I get like a lot of theories sent to me. Sometimes it's like it's hard to read through everything. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, but sometimes if they're really good, I personally don't like feeling like I get spoiled if a theory's really good. Like
only if you
99%
come up
of
with it.
theories are really bad, and then there's
Yeah,
1%
exactly.
that's so good.
Only
if I
I
can
only
come up
like
with it. If you
spoiling the
figure it out
series
yourself,
for
it's
myself.
fine.
I don't like other people telling me what the series is gonna happen. Screw these guys.
That's
Like
that's
the theory
exactly
I
what
enjoyed.
Morj
A
said
theory
last
I
time.
enjoyed recently.
No, I'm serious. I'm like,
Um,
I came up with a good theory. I like
yeah.
that. But if somebody else is reading me a really good theory, I'm like, oh,
I don't know if you
good
guys
stuff.
did you guys see George
I wanna
Bush's
hear
theory
this.
about Roger, and having other kids.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
an
yeah, I saw
old
that.
theory he had.
He
Roger
he
having
expounded
other
upon
kids?
it about like who the kid is and like who his
Yeah. Is there anything like in his original? He made this theory like 2+ years ago,
yeah.
where he said that Robin's father was like
Right.
Roger.
right.
I like Brago was like, I'm not gonna drop it on Morj, and Drizzt is like, and you are.
yeah. I mean, that's essentially what it was.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's fine. If that was
Yeah,
the
that
theory,
Robin
I don't
is,
mind. I
what-
don't think that was... No,
Yeah, what are you
offense
trying to
Joey,
say?
I don't think that was a good theory.
He's like, I don't think Robin is.
Yo, say it with your chest.
But
I'll say I get upset when a really good
Oh!
theory gets dropped on me, and then I feel spoiled.
Oh,
Oh, triggered.
all right, Morj versus Joy Boy next referee, huh?
boxing
No,
match, bro.
that's-
Let's
Morj
go.
versus Joy Boy next referee. That's how
No.
we're starting it off.
Let's get it.
Tell Joy Boy I respect many of his theories.
That's not what-
But I didn't hear the context for this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought
It
he,
wasn't that-
he tied it together well. It was fun.
Yeah, I thought also
was
thought
fun.
it was not bad. It was not badly
All right,
made.
if you're telling me it's a good theory, then I'm just not gonna. Look at it. So like either way, I guess.
It's a bad theory. Look at it, and then
All right. Do you guys want to quickly talk about? This is going on for a bit, actually. Quickly talk about live action, or you just want to get to questions?
I mean, I think we can summarize live action in like 2 sentences.
Okay.
oh, I'm
guess
sure.
first
Are they gonna
thoughts.
be super kind?
I plan on making a video about that.
Is it like
Actually,
I mean, as far as I see the live action, there's no negative impact they could possibly have. Because the only
That's
good
true,
thing,
yeah.
like if people didn't already mess with One Piece, then it's not going to change anything. It's like, all right, whatever, that looks lame. But you know, in the fans, if it's not a faithful adaptation, let's say it's not in the canon manga, who cares?
yeah.
But if it gets fans, it's like, oh, cool, we got more fans. Doesn't hurt.
Do you think it has like Game of Thrones potential in any way, or is
No.
that just?
I refuse to believe someone is that good at adapting a manga
About a rubber
into
boy.
a live action
No.
series.
I think
I would
I
agree.
think the
I would
best
agree.
case scenario for One Piece, the live action, is The Witcher. That's like
yeah, exactly.
The
The
what?
Witcher. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, yeah, I can see
Oh.
that. Yeah.
that's like best case. But you have to.
And
It comes down. I don't even care about like what they adapt. It comes down to the cast. Who are these people?
yeah, it comes and also the amount of money.
They
that
say
Netflix
they,
is
they
willing
say
to
they're
put
throwing a
into
lot of
this.
money to this thing.
I
So-
don't quote me on this figure, but I've heard
Is it
that
yen?
like the budget is
Like,
like
real money or yen?
9 million
Is
per
there a figure?
episode, or something like that.
It's what?
It's like 9 million
it's
per
a-
episode or something. Or
So
for
it's a
like
9
or for the
million
10
thing?
episodes, like $9 million.
Holy shit.
for all of
For one
I'm not
each
sure.
episode apparently.
It might be each episode
if
actually.
it's
Okay,
for each,
so-
then
That's the thing.
insane.
So like almost 100
It
million
has
budget.
to be like it has to be like I feel like the cast, like once they reveal who the cast is, and I saw Flying Panda, he had like this person who probably could be Zoro.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I don't know. Like he looks like he knows what he's doing with his sword, but how does he speak? How does he act? Like
That's true. I think we all
You know,
just got
it's
really
like, what is he-
excited and didn't
Just
think
has
about,
like a
like,
squeaky
know,
He
voice.
did
this
look
actor
cool.
has zero like
because that's important.
responsibility to
And I
actually
think
be good with
I
this.
think also
Yeah.
they cannot be too true to like the canon manga, because I feel like to kind of adapt, you gotta change a lot to make it
Yeah.
more like
The
yeah,
powers
you gotta make it
also.
more plausible for like the Western fans and like
Yeah.
live action.
To be fair, like Luffy, like I can see any of the Straw Hats being portrayed in a real life mode, but like Luffy, like I'm really excited to see how they're gonna deal with the rubber thing because
Oh, the CGI.
imagining it in my mind, I think
Oh my
I
God.
personally
I
can
don't
only
know,
see it
bro.
looking
I don't
bad.
know. I don't know.
The imagine, like, dude. Here's the thing: the CGI is gonna like make or break it.
Yeah.
Because could you imagine a CGI Arlong dude with that weird ass nose?
Like what was
yeah.
it? Yeah, like the Pokemon thing a bit, you know.
Yeah.
Unless you don't go super like, I don't know. We make him a fish man, but he's more.
Make him look more human.
He look
maybe?
more human, like Aquaman, I guess. You know,
Or like Odo Hime or something like where like those like it's obvious they're kind of like do like Aquaman.
like Aquaman. You know, where it's like
Yeah.
you can tell that he's not human, but he's not like Arlong. Like
he looks human-ish.
yeah, like he looks human-ish.
You know, they did orcs and stuff fine in Lord of the Rings, for
Yeah,
example.
And I think with like people like Crocodile and an L, it's like I don't know if it gets. I mean, it gets that far, but
I just hope that they don't get like that they take the liberty to make it look realistic and like don't overdo it with like sizes and shit.
oh
like,
no,
you
no,
know,
no, you can't
if
care about that.
necessary,
You
to
can't
make
care
like
about that.
this.
I
You
think
can't care
they
about that. You can't because Oda's size chart is just ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, but like not like that. The sizes are like
that matters.
super correct or anything. But like if you have like if you have an enemy character, a comic character that's like really chubby, and then you make him like CGI chubby or something like shit like that. Like a Big Mom. Like have. You know
I would
what
say
I
that.
mean? Like,
Okay,
make
let me
that
ask you guys
look
this:
okay.
Who is the easiest character to cast out of Straw Hats? Because I know who it is. I have someone in mind who you think is easiest to cast.
I would think Zoro, actually.
I would actually
think
probably
Zoro.
say Zoro. Yeah.
You mean
Yeah.
just by
Finding an
you mean by-
actor,
based
finding
on
an
the-
actor that can convey the character.
Definitely Zoro.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, well,
Luffy's
Luffy's
the
the
hardest.
hardest.
By
I
far.
think
Because
Luffy's the
absolute
it's
hardest,
very
right?
easy to do.
For me, I think
Luffy
it's
can
Sanji.
be annoying if you do it wrong.
He's the-
I would
why's that?
or
You think he's the
Chopper because
easiest?
Chopper CGI.
maybe you don't even have Chopper.
Cast,
Don't even bring Chopper.
Just casting like a real
No.
reindeer.
Why is
just
it hardest to
standing
convey
there.
Sanji?
Or the easiest to convey Sanji. I think because no,
Oh, the easiest.
he's the easiest. I think because all you need is someone who's a gentleman, that is a smooth talker. I think for Zoro, you have to have someone that is great with swords. That it has to be believable, and someone who just conveys like badassery. Where it's like,
Well,
it's
see, I think that's actually
believable.
kind of easy because in essence, Zoro just encompasses everything that's like Japanese.
Okay, so do you bring a Japanese person for Zoro? Do you bring someone?
Yeah, you bring in
a
a
French.
good speaking Englishman that is Japanese, or someone that is of Asian heritage.
Would Sanji be Japanese too?
Raga, no, I feel like with Sanji, for example, I disagree that he's the easiest because I think, and he gets shit on a lot, but I do actually think that Sanji has the most regular, real range.
But that's what I'm
of
saying. Where it's like
emotions.
it's
You know what I
more
mean?
realistic. You can bring someone in that can kind of
Yes.
convey that. With Zoro, some of the things he does, it's like it's anime manga shit. Where it's like
here's the thing I think is the deal breaker with Sanji not being the easiest with his gag. That is not like how he switches back and forth. I don't think that's necessarily easy to like convey or
Yes.
appropriately do.
But it's human. But like Sanji and Usopp
That's like
are very
half the anime
human in
community,
their way. Yeah.
Oh, Usopp needs an amazing act. Like some actors need to be.
Oh,
amazing.
what are
I
they
think
gonna do
Usopp
with the
needs an
nose?
amazing
Oh
actor.
my god.
oh yeah, I don't know.
Like it's very important Usopp gets a good
Usopp.
actor.
I think Nami.
And the
Nami is
normal
great.
nose.
Nami has to.
Nami
yeah,
needs a good
he
actress
needs a good actor.
for sure.
I'm just.
Can't
Do
be
you guys
Japanese.
know? Like, I'd be interested. Like, is this gonna be like a Japanese production, or is
it
this gonna
can't-
be
it
like
can't be-
Western
There is
tailored?
an American.
Oh, actually, I
You,
don't
you
like-
cannot have a Japanese cast. It's not gonna
You
work.
can have a Japanese character.
You can
It
have a
can't be
character.
full-
It
if it's
can't-
full Japanese, it will ruin it.
It would
I
ruin
think.
it. It can't be full Japanese.
No, but is the language? What's the language it's being
It's
produced
being
in?
directed by an American director. I
Isn't it a
assume
black
that
guy?
Since it's for
I
Netflix.
swear it was like a black dude directing it.
I don't know who it
I
is.
think so.
The name has been dropped before.
Yeah.
We know who's directing it. I just don't know. I can't remember.
Okay, so it's like a
That's
Western
very
production.
exciting.
Yeah, it's Western. It's connected to Hollywood. It should be all English.
Oh my god, I forget the
It would be so wild if like people who I've been telling to read One Piece for the longest time suddenly pick it up. Like people.
Well,
think
if
that
if
people
it
don't
is
whatever.
if it has the budget and it just absolutely goes off.
Morj just sees his subscriber count rising in the distance.
Oh,
he's just like looking.
Oh,
he's
all
just
of
like,
us should be
whoa.
very thankful if this live action.
Okay, the
takes off.
showrunner is Matt Owens, and he did the Agents of Shield
Okay.
and Luke Cage. I'm
Okay.
I have
don't
no
know.
knowledge.
Is this
okay.
good?
So Luke Cage is
What, Luke?
yeah,
Luke Cage?
It's
Luke
the
Skywalker?
The Marvel
Okay.
thing. It says okay. The writer is
Okay.
the person who did Lost and the X-Files. So Stephen Maida or Maida.
Okay, so Lost the first 3 seasons is awesome, but
It falls apart. Okay, so I think with
Well, he's got Oda's skeleton to go off.
it
of.
should,
He be
I don't
fine.
know, because you have to take certain liberties because you're trying to have it cross over. Like, so I think with going off of Luke Cage, like it was a great concept, but it was just so corny at times. Like it was just like, oh my god, like this is cringy.
yeah, how
I
is the
just
Japanese
hope-
It was
dialogue going to transfer
cringy,
over to English?
like so. I think with it, you
Yeah.
can't have it be cringy.
No,
They're gonna have to
no.
change the dialogue
and
a lot.
I hope that they can learn something from like the Pokemon and Sonic thing they did and like the previous failures with like live action
says-
adaptations. I really hope that they take some lessons
Tomorrow
from there.
Studios, so it's gonna, I don't know, I guess Cowboy Bebop and Snowpiercer, Hana, they're connected to the studios. So, it has a lot of big names on it, and it has a lot of money behind it. I have,
It has Oda on board, which
I
is
don't know
nice to
about
know.
that. I don't know how I feel about that because
No?
I don't want him detracting from or taking away
that
from
as well,
Manga,
and I don't
be
want it to be
honest.
super
Like,
Japanese.
Oh yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like, that's like the thing. It's like trying to convey the emotion from subs to dub.
Yeah.
A lot of it just does not work, and it's gonna be weird for like a manga to be conveyed into a live action. And
Like I
keep
said,
that same.
I haven't
Yeah.
played The Witcher, but how they did The Witcher was like it had its moments of just like, all right, whatever, but it was really good. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they it was
was
very
entertaining.
entertaining, and even the special effects, and then they had a dragon in there. They had a bunch of different like
the dragon
like
just
it had like a
sat
bunch of
there for the
different
record.
monsters. It was like it didn't look too bad,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
But it was
No, it wasn't.
No,
it
no, it
wasn't,
didn't-
It wasn't
Witcher
Game of
was fun
Thrones
in
level,
parts,
but
for
it was
sure.
good. But I mean, to be fair, the cast really carried.
they had a big the main person
um,
was a huge actor,
yeah.
like Henry Cavill, right?
Yeah. Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
Like
he carried
he really carried that
And
role.
He also played the games religiously.
okay, so he
Yeah,
really
and he read the
was
books and
committed to it.
everything.
Like he really was committed to it, and you felt that. So it was
Yeah.
just like you
Imagine hearing like Tom Holland is cast as Luffy.
That would ruin
That
it.
would be insane to just hear like an actual.
You think Tom Holland would be
actor's,
good?
Like actual.
think he'd be
name,
good
like,
as
attached to
Luffy?
One Piece.
As Luffy.
I don't think
No,
yeah,
in
yeah,
my-
yeah.
but
In
he's
my
the only
opinion,
young
I would
British
not
actor
like
I
if
could
any
think of.
big name actor was involved
Exactly.
with this whatsoever.
That's what
I think you need
that's
one.
What I
You
was
need
about
one.
to think.
You need one. You need
Yeah.
one.
Maybe it's like
But
like
not
not
in-
like
not
not
in
a
the
main
main
character.
cast.
You know,
Maybe
we
it's
just
like
go
a-
back to
maybe
the
a
person
villain
that
or
just plays
something, a
all the Asian
crocodile.
women, like Scarlett Johansson.
You know.
Let's go with her.
No, thank you.
Uh, I would like for the Straw Hats. I think like not well named. Like no famous big.
Who's somebody you guys
big
have in mind?
actors
You guys
should
have
be
anybody in mind?
cast.
I don't think anyone who isn't a fan of the series should be cast.
Ah.
Like no one who hasn't read the source
Yeah.
material.
Oh, that's harsh. Huh?
That's really narrowing this.
Yeah.
spectrum,
Listen,
though.
to get it done
You could
right,
get
like
him.
how else would you be able to properly convey the feelings if you
Well,
don't?
to be
if you
fair,
didn't read
Dritz, Michael
Yes,
B.
it's
Jordan
true.
is a fan of Naruto, and he called it
He's a fan of Naruto.
Naruto. So that's what I'm saying.
Naruto? You mean Boruto?
I don't
only
don't
Boruto.
know who you can cast in this live action. Like I really don't know who would work.
I don't know how I don't know. It's hard.
I could see like a Josh Brolin as like a crocodile.
They
That'd
said
be
right.
dope.
Okay, let me
Or, like,
throw some
that's
names
as
out
far
here
as
that
it
people,
goes.
the fans got together. They said Ryan Gosling as
As who?
What? Right. All right. If we're
It's
playing
Sanji.
pretend, sure.
As Buggy?
Sanji. Ryan Gosling.
Ryan
And
Gosling.
then Ryan
okay.
Reynolds. in
He's
that
too
role.
old.
Usopp,
He's too old.
Dev Patel, Slumdog Millionaire.
What?
Wait, he's
Hmm.
going Indian with Usopp? Okay. Yeah. No, I'll take Indians in the cast. Just for the
Someone
sake of
looks
Okay,
excited.
Nami, Emma Stone.
What?
Oh,
No, thank you.
They have
Oh,
Brooke Jim Carrey be his voice.
Oh,
Okay, that could
be
work.
good.
Shanks,
That could be good.
Bradley Cooper.
yeah, I
No.
could see that.
I could see that.
I
No,
could
no,
see
no.
that. I could see that.
Yeah, but it's not like
Maybe I just don't like.
it's not like
Bradley
bright
Cooper.
red hair, but it's like right here. Ben Beckman, Norman Reedus, The Walking Dead. I don't know if you guys know who that guy is.
Oh, Norman Reedus as who? As Ben? Oh, that'd be actually a really good casting.
Gold
Really good
Roger,
casting, I think.
Viggo Mortensen.
Oh my, dude.
Is that
Dude,
is
make
that-
Vigo
is
Shanks,
that-
bro.
Viggo could
No,
be
that's
Shanks.
is
Yeah,
that
Viggo
Aragon?
could be
I think
Shanks
Bradley
actually.
Cooper.
It's
Vigo
Aragon,
could
right?
be Vigo
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so
Aragon. Yeah,
talented, bro.
Yeah.
He could be Mihawk too if you want to do it.
They said
Mihawk
they
and
said
Shanks.
Kaya.
This cast
Did
big
you
bad.
guys see him in Green Book? Like where he got a bit fat.
No, I didn't see that one. They said Kaya could be Elle Fanning. I don't know that's Dakota Fanning's.
Who mattered, Kaya?
I was like, I feel like
Kaya's not making
I feel
it to
like
live
Elle
action.
Fanning could actually be maybe Nami. Maybe. But I think you need some big names behind it. Say Aaron Paul is Eustace Kid. I think somebody you could bring in is Batista. Just have him be somebody. I feel like he just works in like, yeah,
Just have him be
he works in
somebody.
worlds like these. Like, I don't. They said he could be
Could be
Jinbei.
Jinbei. He's got the body. type, I
Rob
guess.
Lucci. Guess who you guys
I
think
would-
Rob Lucci is?
Rob Lucci?
Keanu Reeves. They had.
Oh, that's
Keanu?
Oh, that would
Oh,
be so.
that would be
Oh, Keanu is
saucy,
Rob
bro.
Lucci.
That'd be kind of dope. That'd be kind of
Hey,
dope.
Keanu likes Berserk. I'm all
but I
for
mean-
it.
Guys, I think
Keanu-
Ace is pretty good as well. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, really?
I think it could
Yeah.
work. They said NL Eminem.
Isn't he a bit too old though?
He looks young though. He looks young.
I mean, a little.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hugh Jackman, Smoker.
oh,
that's
my
actually
God.
really good
Then it's
casting.
like he smoked cigars as Wolverine.
That'd be
Looked
kind of
badass.
good.
It's just
That'd be
Wolverine,
kind of
yeah.
dope. I'm not gonna lie. They said I don't think this works, but The Rock is Mr. One.
The Rock?
the Rock. The Rock is. No, give Dave Batista Mr. One.
Maybe.
I can see why they would put The Rock
Yeah,
there.
because he's like brown. Perona and Amanda Seyfried.
Look her up.
No, that actually really works.
Yeah, it kinda
Very
works.
similar look.
That kind of works.
I'd like to see Adam Sandler in there.
As Kizaru.
There's gotta be
No, I'm just
Kizaru.
kidding.
Guess who? This is the funniest one. Kuzan. Denzel.
No, that's awful.
But I think Kaido is kind of like
Oh, you know what? Who I could see at SAs? Maybe Adam Driver.
That's who?
as who?
As who? Oh, as Ace.
I
As
don't know.
Ace?
I don't like him too much.
I think people.
Really?
No, he fits that though. That sort of like.
Maybe,
sort of.
maybe. It said Jason Momoa as Kaido.
Oh, that
Okay,
would
that'd
actually
be
be
pretty
really
cool.
good. He already did that with Khal Drogo.
Didn't someone
Yeah,
Photoshop
someone
that?
did.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely I would definitely like some big names for like antagonists or other roles. But I feel for the Straw Hats, just like to keep the other roles these actors had out of the main cast line. I think it would be better to have like people
We know.
who
Yeah.
look nice
Yeah.
visually, who can communicate that, but who have like nothing on them.
They gotta
already.
get Ryan Reynolds for Buggy.
For Buggy? I think who they had for Buggy here? I don't think they.
Ryan Reynolds is
Reynolds
Deadpool, dude. He'd be
for-
perfect for Buggy.
Ryan Reynolds
Adam
for
Sandler could do
Zorro,
it.
and then it's just basically Deadpool.
Ryan
so
Reynolds is
Zorro.
too jokey for Zorro. He,
No, of course.
I think he could play some. I think the thing is Ryan Reynolds is. I don't know. I feel like he's too perfect, or he's too big of a character to play Buggy.
Yeah, like Buggy's
Yeah.
pure comedy. Like you got to kind of be like the butt of the.
I think
joke
he could play
every time
Shanks.
with Buggy.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I
as
can
Shanks.
see that.
Remember the beginning?
Shanks has that
honestly-
happy.
Yeah, because Shanks has that happy-go-lucky at the
Right.
beginning, like that humor where he's fucking with Luffy at the beginning. I think Ryan Reynolds could definitely kill that, like at the beginning.
I personally think people shouldn't have any high expectations though for any big names because
I don't know.
Like,
I
the
think the
budget-
budget
the
is
I
so
don't have high expectations for the series.
the
though.
budget is so the budget is
Yeah.
so huge. I think big names are going to be
Yeah, but,
drawn
like-
to it just automatically.
the budget
Johnny
is
Depp
big,
as
but at the
Shanks.
same time
Johnny
you
Depp's
will
like
He's
65.
like weird though. I think he could
yeah.
be Johnny
like
Depp
you will
is
need the money to do like some proper CGI. Like One Piece really needs.
Yo, I
proper
guarantee
CGI.
you.
And so I'd rather have them spend the money on the CGI and the tech, like the
Maybe.
technical stuff, rather than.
True, but The
casting
Witcher
big
had
names.
both to a degree. Like you can get,
Yeah.
you can get a little.
But The
bit of this, a
Witcher,
little
but
bit
the
of that.
series was more focused.
Like,
Like, it didn't
Witcher's like
have
high
any-
medieval
it's
fantasy.
more grounded. It's more grounded.
Yeah.
Like One Piece, you got to go.
and it was not as carrying in the series. Like what most of the stuff he did was like sword fighting, and then it was like sometimes like the air was wobbling.
I think
a bit.
as well, you got to
Like-
make the live action a bit darker than like what is conveyed at the beginning of One Piece.
Yeah, I don't think like the wacky.
East Blue is not
comedy.
a strong start. Well, no, I love East Blue nostalgia-wise and everything, and certain arcs of East Blue, like Arlong
Right.
Park Baratier, like
Right.
some of my favorite arcs. But like, I think for
Yeah.
a new viewer, like it's not like a Naruto start or a Bleach start or like an Attack on Titan start where it's just like,
Yeah,
But some of the
Fire
jokes
right off the
aren't.
bat,
You know what I'm
like-
saying? Like it can't.
they wouldn't land.
It wouldn't
I
like
don't think.
okay. All right, with Kobe and Luffy at the beginning, you know, that whole thing with Alvida and that whole thing. It's like
oh, Kobe's not making it to the
you don't
live
think
action.
you don't think we get
same.
Kobe?
I don't believe so.
Kobe fans around the world crying.
Okay, I think it would tell us a lot about Kobe's importance to the actual story of One Piece.
I think
if he
Kobe
makes
has
the
to be
live
there,
action
no?
adaptation.
Well, it depends how
That-
much are they going to warp the storyline? Because even in The Witcher, right? I heard like they like did it in like a reverse order and changed stuff, right?
Yeah,
They're gonna have to make some appropriations with the plot to like
I think
make it more
if
viewable.
I think
If you
Kobe's
wanted
a
to
very cuttable
succeed,
character, even though he
well,
seems like
if you
such an
plan on it
important character.
succeeding, I think you have to incorporate Kobe at the beginning.
Wouldn't you want to get to Zoro faster if you want to?
Well, the thing with Kobe doesn't have to be long. I don't think.
Mm.
You know,
Kobe is a good start, like because Luffy's not a relatable character at
right.
all to start with. So you do, in some sense, need Kobe, I guess. But like, anime. We all started with the anime, right?
Yeah.
Like, anime did a good thing, I think, by having the Luffy Shanks flashback start.
It was
a little
later.
yeah,
bit
that
later.
was much better.
I don't
Right.
remember exactly when, but that start of Luffy popping out of the barrel is a really cool start.
yeah.
to the
Where it's
story.
like where
Yeah,
Kobe
I
is
agree with that.
introduced like really early, and then you go from there. Then you go back to the flashback. And like you said, having a relatable character that's somewhat more grounded, where Kobe's more of a realist, and like how shit works, and then it also it introduces Zoro early, right? Where Kobe talks about Zoro and then Alvida and that whole thing, the whole the pirates and all that. It kind of introduces the world a bit better, and then you go into the flashback with Shanks and Luffy. It could work.
That's true. The Kobe's exiting was the same time as basically Nami entering the story. So no matter what, you can't just have a story with Luffy and Zoro because they're not relatable characters at all. Like, they're both larger than life characters. So I mean, you could cut Kobe if you want to just start with Nami, for example. I think she's
That
a
could be
very
one
good start
episode,
as well.
like with Kobe and Nami, and then you go into. But the thing is, with introducing Kobe, you could go into the Zoro stuff, right? You go
Yeah.
directly into the Zoro stuff with Kobe, and then you could find a better or opportune time to give us the Luffy flashback, where like giving us some more of Luffy and understanding why Luffy is the way he is. So maybe when he saves Zoro, where Zoro asks him like, "Why do you want to save me?" You know, and then it's like,
Queen
yeah,
of Stairs
yeah.
flashback. Can't believe we're gonna get
Right.
that.
Oh.
in live
Let's
action.
go to
I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'd say we'd slowly. I think that's a good place to like slowly switch to questions now.
Okay, yeah, it's gone
That's
on for a bit. Let's
yeah.
just tear through questions real quick so I can sleep and stuff.
Sleep? What is that?
Hold up.
And like get some food. Oh yeah, sleep is.
Oh, actually, are
nothing
you
for-
guys going to be staying up for the chapter, I guess? I assume fan translations
Coming
come
out.
out today.
I expect it.
No, they're
I
coming out
expect
later.
it
right?
Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely sleeping. I'm just wondering if
No,
you guys are...
no. I want to talk about the live action first anyway, so I'm probably not gonna. And plus, the thing is,
So no
never,
sleep for you.
never. No, probably not. But
Brago doesn't
never
sleep.
read the.
I know he doesn't.
The initial scans that come out, they're never good. It's like some scans come out like
Yeah.
hours later after that. Those are the good ones. So those are the ones you should probably wait for.
Yeah. Apparently.
Okay, I don't know,
apparently,
like, this
the...
might be... Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, maybe that's a new topic now. Yeah, but. What do you want?
I
to
was
say,
going to
Morj?
somewhat start a new topic. I was going to go after these new fan trends. I'm actually... Might be controversial, but I'm not happy that people are putting out fan
Oh, look at this hater.
translations. I think all it does is, like, give people... Like, the only thing you can do is, like, make your opinion of the chapter kind of bad. Versus if nobody was doing this, we would all just be reading decent translations and waiting.
I
usual.
agree with you,
So-
but I feel like it's kind of just like a Hydra, where you
Yeah, it's gonna
like
happen anyway.
No, but it's like, okay, look, people are gonna take
Right.
what you give them, right? Like, I don't view these guys as being like good guys in it. Like, I view it as like it's like crack, right? Like, we all want our fix. We'll take it
Even
however
if it's
we
bad
get it.
crack.
Like, we could wait 2 days for some nice crack. Or,
You're gonna want the crack no matter what. And the thing is, I don't think the crack just
yeah, like that's the thing. They're just taking advantage.
crack
of our
wasn't that
addiction.
bad
Like,
this
I don't
past
view
chapter
these
to
guys
me.
as good guys in any sense. I'd rather they.
You think the
don't do
crack
what
was
they're doing.
bad this
Like,
past
leave it
chapter?
be.
No, this is probably
This-
some of the better.
This
crack.
is really
I thought
good
it was.
crack.
Yeah,
Like
okay,
That was some good crack.
I mean,
bro.
to be fair, like
came back the
Jimmy's
next day.
box, like they have
It
been
gave a
gone
lot of
for like
people a
literally
poor
like three.
opinion of
What has it
crack,
been like
to be
3 or
fair.
4
Yeah.
chapters?
you feel
So I mean, like it was
Yeah,
obvious
it's gonna be
that there was
some
going to be
transition
some chaos,
time.
and
Yeah.
there's going to be some
Yeah.
struggle, and there's someone new going to pop
I
up.
think
anyway
Japanese
at one
Box had
point.
gotten to the point where they were, you could say they were equal to the original, sometimes better than.
I agree.
I would say
Yeah,
they
that's
were
been a
better.
debate. I think Ohara's on the side that they're better.
Oh, my
have been
man.
somewhat
Oh,
swayed to
yeah.
the
I
side.
like the nuggets.
Yeah.
I like some of the nuggets they would put in the chapters.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
really
So it's
try
like
to
the
explain
reason
stuff.
I think they're better is
I
I
would
think
high
they
five
captured the
Drizzt, but you're not
dialogue
here.
a lot better.
Ohara
They
said
did.
something that I definitely agree
Yes,
with, which
I
is that
agree.
like it fits with how you would read the
Yeah.
anime subtitles. Like it
Absolutely.
Where
echoes
Viz
that.
Viz
is
is kinda a
trying to
little
be
more
they're trying to
cartoonish.
be a lot more streamlined, where they want you to understand it over like translating directly what it's saying. They're like, we're trying to change things to make you understand it better. Whereas like the Japanese Box was like, well, this is what it says, you just got to interpret it. And then they also gave some explanations
they-
sometimes in like the chapters.
Exactly. I like Japanese Box like notes
Yeah,
on
the
like
notes.
translations where they were like, oh, they wrote this, but it's like hard to translate. So
They would have
we
a
tried to
page
put it in this.
after the
And
chapter
I mean,
telling you like
yeah.
why they did certain things. Which
Yeah,
is
they were
cool.
they were so awesome.
cool.
Dude. I love Japanese.
It was cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I had like a whole discussion about this with Morj, but like I think like in the end it comes down to like personal taste.
I remember I listened to that
Um,
podcast when the chat was mad, or the
Oh.
comments were mad, because it's like, oh my god, you guys talk about this translation shit the entire podcast. It's like-
It sounds like the referee.
I was like, this is pretty interesting to me. But you know, when they come for the Wano Report, they want you to talk about Wano. So I get it.
Because it's called the
Exactly.
Wano Report.
Precisely. You guys still how many questions did you guys have?
No,
Two.
we're just gonna
Okay,
do a
okay.
few basically.
Let's do two.
All right.
Too bad.
Or two.
Two,
Oh,
two ones I picked in advance quickly.
Wow.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
guys
you
got, like,
guys can, if you see my tweet or whatever, you guys can just look at it and pick from there.
I'm
basically.
gonna
So
throw the
whatever.
first one out, and then you can just look in the
All
meantime.
right.
So the first one is: do you guys wish there were more sea battles in
No.
One Piece? I thought that was
No.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't care for sea battles.
Yeah.
I kind of. I don't wish, but it would be
Yeah,
nice.
I mean,
guess.
if,
Like,
if it's
was
a
there.
story about pirates,
I wish there was more actual
sea
battles.
battles would be nice.
How about that?
I mean, okay, I want that one too. I want that one more than the sea battles.
Oh,
I wish there was actual battles.
Drizzt, I won't. Okay, you know my Drizzt, you know my favorite battle in Berserk. I'm not gonna spoil it or anything, but it is.
Is it Roderick?
No, I guess I
Is it
can't say
Roderick?
without spoiling.
Stop spoiling.
No. Before it's earlier. It's a guts fight. It just happens to be at. Okay, never mind. I'll tell you afterwards.
Thanks.
Yeah, I gotta get Brago on that.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. I
Oh,
saw
Brago,
that
have you
tweet.
read it yet?
That's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Because I was planning on
Yes, I
starting.
have.
You have?
I have.
Okay.
You didn't tell me anything.
I've been slowly digesting it. Like I've reread the first 4 chapters twice.
Braga, if it helps, I don't think the first, not to trigger Drizzt, but I don't think the first several chapters are good,
No,
basically, personally. But I think it gets really good past a certain point. I just don't think the first several chapters.
Well, the thing is, it's Guts is intriguing as a character, and it's like going back and like seeing certain things over again. It's like I'm trying to understand like why he's doing things the way he is. So it's like certain things when I read them, like what the hell is going on? But then going back, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes a lot more sense. So I'm before I tweeted about it, I wanted to understand what I was reading. So I'm at the part where he just Ohara, you trying to read it?
no, I want to know. Screw him.
No, don't. I want
Can
to
you
know
make
what
it
it's
plan on
vague?
reading
called.
Can you make it vague?
Yeah, I am. I actually bought it already. Like
All right,
the
then
first
I'll
volume,
DM you after
so-
this, Brago.
Okay.
Wait, Brago, can you say it but make it vague?
No,
Or if you
don't.
can't
just,
just-
But Ohara, you're probably not gonna.
Can you
You're
just spoil?
probably not gonna understand where I am.
Okay,
Yeah, you're
don't
not
say
gonna
it. Don't say
understand
it.
where I am.
Sorry,
But
sorry.
Stop it.
But Brago, I would say that you might not understand Guts' character whatsoever for like a solid bit.
I'm at.
Looking back on it, once you understand him, you'll see there's lots of hints in the first few chapters that correlate to other parts of the series.
But I would say it took me a while to like get in the flow of this. Like I did not like the first beginning part of the series.
It's
so
still
that's
running,
totally
right?
Normal.
Yeah.
Berserk?
Yeah.
It is still running.
Right. Okay. Okay. Let's switch topics.
Yeah. Switch to. You want to talk
What was
One
the first
Piece? Alright, so
Next. Oh,
Sea
if
battles,
you want
we
more
know sea battles.
Oh wait. I'll just
Okay,
say.
next
I'm
question,
at the count.
The standard one. Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm at.
Oh, Baron Slug.
Yeah, I'm past that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're
Wait,
starting
where the
Golden
hell
Age.
Well, the count. I'm still at the count.
Oh, okay. So you're not.
Yeah.
You're almost.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there.
you still
Okay.
Okay, Brago, I'll just say I didn't care for all of that. Basically, it took me a little bit before I think what the good part of Berserk
fair
starts.
enough.
So I wouldn't even overthink this part of it. All right,
I'll
anyways.
talk to you about it later.
Okay, or Drizzt can tell you something about this.
Screw Morj.
Oh man. All right. What's the next question?
Do you have one more? Otherwise, I'll just keep going.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's like the standard one. Do you guys think that Odin is still alive?
No.
No, please.
Oh shit, this question's gonna be quick.
That would.
Well, I can change that into a different question. How would you feel? Because Morj, you believe? I think you start. Not believe this. What would you think if Toki was still alive? Toki.
If who?
Tokai.
Oh yeah, I mentioned that. I think Ohara and I have talked about this. The idea that I mean, I didn't think about this till I saw somebody else. I don't know who.
I didn't hear about it until you
talking
told me.
it,
That.
like,
Shame.
yeah, the scar.
Until she
on,
took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, she took an arrow to the knee. She took an arrow to the knee, so then I think a lot of people have been talking about, like, oh, the reason that Oda did that would be likely so that we'd be able to identify her in some other context, let's say, like, the modern day. So I would actually like that, I guess, just because I feel like Toki hasn't been explored that much as a character just yet.
Yeah.
But that's fine if her time to be explored, I guess, is actually in the current story. That's, yeah.
Silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Any
I
other
agree.
thoughts? Ohara?
Yeah, Toki.
Right. That's.
I think it makes sense for her to be alive. Honestly, I never thought she was really dead.
It better be a good
Oh,
reason.
really?
I never thought she was dead. Like,
Do you think she's Komurasaki?
Cap.
possibly, yeah, possibly. I mean, the thing is because they left it so vague with her. It was just like, well, when things are kind of left vague in One Piece, the person's normally alive. So,
Like
Do
Koeno.
you think Tashigi is Hiyori in that case?
do I think she's Hiyori?
Mhm.
I think Hiyori and Komurasaki could be different people, but I guess for like the whole character, Hiyori and Komurasaki, I think she could be involved in that. Yeah. But I never really, it was never really set in stone. Like, oh my god, like Toki's definitely dead. Like I never thought that. So it's like, yeah.
I don't think anyone's
kinda just
ever
took
even
that as
said
is.
she is dead.
Yeah, it was like,
Well, actually, I think it has been said actually that she is dead.
well,
And Punk has with Momo.
It was. I think it was just stated that she stayed behind in the castle.
Yeah, it
and
stayed
then
behind-
burned
that
to
she
death
stayed
or
behind.
something. Or she said she doesn't want to run
I think
anymore. or
Momo
something
said
like
that his mom is dead at some point.
Yeah, but Momo wouldn't know because
he got saved. Yeah, so he
transported
wouldn't know at
inside.
all.
Yeah.
So it's just like, no.
Mm.
Yeah, it hasn't been like confirmed.
Right. So it was just like one of those where Toki
Nice.
shows up and saves them or something. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Will Kaido eat a rumble ball?
Yeah,
I saw
right
that.
there.
I was like, what the hell?
I mean, what about like? Did you? I like this one because I actually didn't think about it. Do you guys think Odin has Haki because he actually never showed any distinct signs of using it, or is it just brute strength?
If he doesn't, that'd be so stupid.
He probably
He
has
did
Haki, right?
against Whitebeard,
Yeah.
right? Against
Must have
Whitebeard
Haki.
when they clashed, wasn't that a clear?
That was a
Conqueror's
Conqueror's
clash, actually?
Clash,
I don't,
which
bro.
it doesn't
Right.
require. Dude, listen. Here's the thing. Here's why he has to have it, because in the timeline, right? Kinemon goes from they all like get shit on at Kaido supposedly, and then he gets transported to the future. He has hardening armament right now. If he has it, and Odin doesn't, I'm calling
No, yeah.
bullshit.
Listen,
No, there's no. Okay, look, like Luffy learned Haki, like a new level of armament in
Yeah.
Wano, so it's definitely got to be
He's
very
got to
powerful.
have it. If
Oh,
he doesn't,
Odin
I-
already has
I do
Rio
think
to me.
I-
He has to have that already. That
Yeah,
for sure.
but I think he might have like improved his Haki for sure, like on his journey
Absolutely.
with Whitebeard and Roger, since it was like explicitly stated in this
Absolutely.
chapter that he got stronger.
Yeah, like, and if he got stronger without having Haki, like, what's going on? Like, but then
Yeah.
you know, hockey in general is not. It's not. I don't know. It's a topic sometimes. It's like it's
Sensitive topic.
Do you okay? Do you guys believe the Fire Festival will end in failure? As I kind of still do. No, still do.
It
Depends on to what
it would
end.
make more sense if it did.
Okay,
I
I'll
think
take
there
that.
will be drama there, but like I I don't think there's going to be an arc reset because of it.
Not a reset, but it'll be difficult to think that the alliance, the way it is now, especially how they've been kind of one up by Orochi, going over to Onigashima and defeating Big Mom and Kaido. And I don't know if you guys remember, like when we initially started, it was like 30,000 forces. Then as the chapter progressed, it got like to 40,000 forces. It's like where did these 10,000 come from? Some people are assuming Big Mom brought some people over. Like if that's the case, and we're fighting the number battle and then the overall strength battle, I don't know, bro. How? The only way is
there has to be something that happens so that when the backup arrives.
Yeah, like you have to like
basically. And
then Nekomamushi isn't there yet. The remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you have to find something has to happen to kind of stretch it. I don't know if Luffy gets captured. Again, and then they stretch it out, and then it's like a rescue mission to rescue Luffy. Then you bring the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, you bring the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates.
That's when Jimbo shows up.
Jimbo shows up with like a missing fin.
Jimbo.
And then you go from there. But them going over right now with the disadvantages they have, they should get obliterated.
Yeah.
Ohara, what you think?
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Ohara, you're
because
muted.
I think they could go back, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was
Shit,
wondering
I've just
if he
been rambling on here. I'm like, oh, everyone's ignoring
me. All right,
me.
fine.
I'm like, okay, sure. I'll stop talking.
Sorry.
I was like,
yeah,
sorry.
what you think? You agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the arc would be a lot nicer if it was split into two battle sequences. One which is Onigashima, where it's like inside the Wano arc, basically Luffy going against the participants of the Wano arc clashing, and then a bigger climax, which is the basically overarching New World saga clashing, kind of. I would prefer that.
I would just think,
and like
so you
Brago
think that
said,
all is in the
yeah,
context
or
of
well,
the
not
Wano arc?
everyone, but like like the overall saga coming
Yeah.
to an end with like the Marines maybe being there, with maybe other parties being there.
and then they said the Star Grand Fleet was involved in an event that changed it. So that could be, that
And Oda also said that will be happening soon.
they said it's happening soon.
Quote,
and
unquote.
Oda is trying to end this thing. So yeah, I think it's happening.
Oda also said that the Strats will be meeting Vegapunk, quote unquote, soon, so that he could explain the entire lore and history behind the Devil Fruits.
So then you agree with
Dude, that's
So-
so
Quote
frustrating.
unquote soon.
so you agree with the theory, Drizzt, that Kaido is Vegapunk?
Quote unquote. Soon.
That Kaido's Vegapunk. Yeah, that's starting to make sense. No wonder Kizaru wanted to go
Exactly. That's why. That's exactly why. Him and Sentomaru.
They're both Vegapunk.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's wrap
Sentomaru.
this
So
up.
comes from
really
Wano.
quickly,
Doesn't start to
I
make
was just
sense.
thinking of something that could make Wano better, is if we get, because I was just thinking of MVA from My Hero Academia. If you
Yeah.
read,
Whoa. Actually, I don't care. It's just
Oh, wow.
my hero. Okay, what?
These One Piece
No, I
elitists.
like that
Yeah.
series, but I'm not like super.
Oh.
What do you? I don't mind a
Toxic.
minus.
well,
spoiler.
MVA,
Don't tell me if someone dies or
MVA,
something.
My Villain Academia. I
Okay.
think it would be great if we got a few chapters with just Kaido's family, like giving us some more.
Oh,
Oh,
you
we
like the
definitely,
calamities?
Yeah.
definitely, we haven't had any character building
Exactly,
for Kaido
right.
whatsoever.
So I think
far.
it would be
Yeah.
great if we got like 3 or 4 chapters,
sure.
even with Kaido and Big Mom, that whole dynamic and fleshing that
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
get
yeah.
some more of King, some more of Jack, Queen, the
I mean,
numbers.
Yeah.
we
the
still
Flying
have no
Six.
idea who he is.
We only
as
know
a
one of the
person
Flying
anyway.
Six. Should be 5 more people. So I don't know what's going on there, but
Yeah, we need more
9
time with
numbers.
Kaido
Yeah.
so that as a villain he actually feels impactful.
exactly.
Because right
Yeah.
now he's
Yeah.
too strong to
We-
like put in the arc.
Yeah.
He's so he's just like super.
Unless
abstract,
Oda is
basically. He's like this
okay
invincible.
With him being a drunk,
yeah.
and that's it. Like if Oda's okay with him just being that,
There is,
then
even the drag down doesn't believe that.
yeah.
No, I mean, like the whole working with Joker, working with the underworld. You know,
It's, the
like,
thing is,
this whole
it's
network
a
he
lot of
built.
potential there for depth, because one of the things he went at Odin for was because he wanted to know about the history of the world.
Yeah,
Right?
why did you
Yeah.
want to know that?
Why did you want to know that? Why are you keeping all these secrets away from like Orochi? Like,
And he
No,
was
I
in the Rocks
definitely-
Pirates?
He was on the
Bro? Come
Rocks.
There's gotta be some
Yeah.
more
so
stuff
that's what I'm saying. So I
No,
feel
no.
like we need a few chapters focusing on like what's going on in Onigashima.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Oda has like very purposefully held back intensely on sharing any, like giving Kaido any too much screen
I
time.
hope so.
So I think that's definitely
I hope
coming.
so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hope so.
I still think that what do you call the Fire Festival and stuff doesn't. I do think that there will be a bit of a showcase of the full strength of
Yonko.
Kaido and Big Mom.
But I don't think
coming up, which is part of the reason that I feel that the Fire Festival.
But the thing is, for those two more
So
really quickly, I don't
at
even
least.
want a strength showcase from them. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
not even a strength.
Yeah,
like, more
character
so for
development,
character.
yeah.
Like I learned more about Crocodile.
Yeah, what
from
is a
his
Yonko?
first
Yeah,
yeah,
fight
exactly.
with
Like
Luffy,
what
basically.
like.
We have never seen a
And
Yonko
his
in like
second
full
fight.
action going full out. If I remember.
And sometimes the
Like-
Yonko in general, like we know Whitebeard's whole thing where he didn't want it. So basically, he didn't chase after whatever everything
Right.
was. But for Shanks, we don't know his true purpose. For Big Mom, she wants to become Pirate King, but she's like more so focused on Whole Cake Island in general. For Blackbeard, we know he just wants destruction and everything. For Kaido, like what does he really want? So for Kaido and Shanks,
Yeah,
that's kind
why?
of been,
Right.
like
Why does Pirate King actually matter to him?
yeah, but then
right.
No, like out of all of them, to be honest, Kaido has already had the most teased about like more to him. If that like the first thing he was introduced as is
he
like
wanna die,
I
yeah.
want to be able to die, followed by fuck it, I'm just gonna start the
Yeah.
biggest war in the world. Followed by like all that stuff about like he's been defeated X amount of times. He's done
Right.
this.
and he's
so
one of the
much.
few
Like,
Yonko
he's
that's
had the
like
most history
always
teased about him.
traveling.
So if we can delve
Yeah.
into that a little bit.
But I mean, this also ties back a bit into the power scaling thing, which is why I'm still so much against power scaling. It's not because I generally
Boo.
hate power scaling. I just
Get
I
this
just
guy
believe-
outta here.
I just believe that in general, no, but like I mean, who in the top tier in One Piece have we seen properly
Nobody.
fight
No one.
so far?
No one.
No one.
Exactly. So
And
we
that's
can
a
talk like after
travesty.
Wano, we can like
Yeah.
power scale
Bro,
away.
Wano
but,
is gonna
like,
make it more complicated.
Yes. No. I think after Wano we get because so far the thing that makes it complicated is fucking Marineford because and really it's Whitebeard. It's Whitebeard's fault because Whitebeard is pitched as the strongest, but everyone knows he's not at his prime at Marineford. So then everything comes down to your interpretation of how strong Whitebeard was.
No, it's just
relative to
Marineford in
other
general
Yonko
because
at
every
Marineford.
single person Marineford wasn't trying.
Yeah, that's how it comes
Yeah,
across,
it's just-
especially
yeah,
after
there's so
like
many
Punk
question
Hazard.
marks
You know
that-
what happened there? It's like, well, they could have done a lot more.
But they could have changed that island into whatever they. You know,
Yeah.
like, even like the warlords weren't trying and the commanders weren't going all out, despite the fact that they wanted to
Warlords
save
were
Ace.
extra
They
Yeah.
were still holding back
Yeah.
and blah 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 blah.
it's just a bunch of, and even the admirals, I think a lot.
They were trolling.
I think
the whole
now
time.
the admirals have been, a lot of people kind of,
Yo, preach it.
a lot of people shit on the admirals, and I mean,
I don't like that.
we got Green Bull at 30, but I would say,
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh man, Brago knows what you know what you're doing every time you invite certain people to your
I'm
top
snitching.
30
listen,
streams,
listen.
though.
For the top 30, you want as many different opinions as possible. So it's like, but here's the thing.
Wildly different.
And I say for Ty, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That,
No, but that's the
I
fun of
don't
it. You
know,
don't
and I
know
think
what's
that's
coming.
why
Yeah.
Ty is amazing because he's a wild card. You don't know what to expect. But the admirals in general, I think people look at someone like the end of Dressrosa and it's like, well, Luffy looked like he was doing good against Fujitora just using Gear 3rd. And people are like, well, Fujitora probably isn't that strong. So I think Luffy's stronger than Fujitora right now after learning Ryo. Just like,
Oh,
yes.
people say
Yeah, people actually do.
Yes.
what?
No.
What?
Yes.
No,
Nope.
I've never heard
Me
someone
and
say that.
Brago know
Really?
from firsthand
Oh
experience.
man, I'm telling you guys, like
What?
people don't think the admirals are like, people think the admirals are right hand commander level.
Yeah, most people I've seen like it's just one or two. I've seen a lot of people think that they're just on right hand commander
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Okay.
All right, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it?
Let's move this. We should definitely make a big power.
I would like to see the Wano
Wano
Report power
discussion
scale. I
sometime.
know that's not
Yeah, I
you
need to
guys'
see that.
thing.
Yeah, let's
but
do that. You
do
guys,
a top
you guys are
30 one
invited.
time and just see how that goes.
Feel officially invited. We're gonna do that.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, yes,
Ohara's
man.
is just gonna be like, there's no such thing. as power.
Yeah, it's just like my list is empty.
But I think like, as obscure as like power scaling is in One Piece, is just like that it's fun because it's so all over the place.
yeah, it is. I'm just like when I just, I think it's fun, and I think it's also fun if people like get into arguments about it. I just feel like it gets stupid when people start insulting each other over things we literally don't know.
I agree. That's when it kind of goes too far. But I think sometimes
That's my favorite part.
sometimes
People
it's
went back
inevitable.
through my Reddit history. If anyone went back deep through my Reddit history, you would see like really, really, really long arguments about the dumbest shit about it.
But don't.
It's and
No,
the thing is,
don't.
One Piece is the only series you can
No.
do that because other series they kind of flesh things out a bit better.
Other series,
Yeah.
you kind of know the answer.
You know the
Yeah.
answers already.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and Hunter
Yeah.
x Hunter is a
Others-
bit vague, like
yeah, I don't know.
Lumi or Hisoka. I mean, you know, but it's not as interesting. You know.
Yeah, I feel like even with like a Hunter x Hunter, for example, without spoiling stuff, like I do feel like One Piece goes out of its way more to give us sort of like part of the problem is that it gives us these presets. So we know Yonko is a thing, we
Right.
know Admiral is a thing, we
Right.
know commanders are a thing. So we already have
Yeah.
these sort of presets, and then you can kind of like start
You drop
grouping
people in those
into
buckets,
things.
yeah.
Whereas Hunter x Hunter doesn't like you can say Phantom.
Yeah,
Troop,
Phantom
but then
Troop
what's
isn't really a
that? You can
level,
say-
and then you have the Zodiacs.
It's
Yeah,
more
the
like
Zo-
Shichibukai, but like One Piece, you don't scale by Shichibukai.
Yeah.
You scale by like Commander.
People try to make
Admiral,
Zodiac a
Yonko,
level,
or you
but
combine.
I
Yonko
don't know if
and
you can really
Admiral.
do that. It's you're right. It's a lot more thing. But I think if Hunter x Hunter, if it was fleshed out even more, if they went into like different classes of hunters and the stars and all that, then maybe you could start to do that and kind of scale them that way. But then how the Chimera Ant arc was with Morel and knowing that he was like 30% and how well he did is kind of, and even Morel said like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if somebody's stronger, like it's all about advantages and how you use Nen. So
I think Hunter x Hunter goes more out of its way to stress.
right, exactly,
matchups
definitely,
versus,
100%.
Like, One Piece will do like
Yeah,
they fought for 10
like
days,
with
they
Morel
fought
and
for 5 days, stuff like that.
Leo, like when he just
I love those fights by the
him and Chichu was
versus
great as
Chichu,
well
I
because
love
that was just like a mind fuck. But him versus Leo and how
Yeah.
Leo was just he used his crazy breath to kind of just fucking fuck him over. It's
Okay, guys.
amazing.
I'm gonna
Okay,
have
sorry,
to cut it at
sorry.
this point because I have to run.
Oh yeah.
Boo.
I'm sorry.
Boo.
Yeah,
All
as
right.
always, boo.
Ooh, 2 more hours. I'm blah, blah, blah,
Boo,
blah.
2 more hours. Yeah, but like as always, thanks so much for you two dropping by. You're definitely welcome as always. We're gonna do the power
You're our
leveling
favorite guest.
stream soon. Let's do
I
that.
know the people looking forward to
If you guys
Alright.
haven't checked out Drizzt or BDA Law's channel or Brago's channel, both of them,
that. Yeah, check them
then
out.
the links are in the description below. Make sure to check out both of them. They make really, really great content
Oh,
on
wow.
One Piece, but also other stuff. Unique opinions, which I think are very, very well made videos for both of them and very worth watching. So make sure to check them out on their channels. Make sure to check us 4 out on Twitter. Links are also in the description below. Otherwise, any last words, Morj?
No. that all
RP
sounds
Kobe.
good.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yes,
Rest in peace, Kobe.
Oh yes. Of
definitely
course.
R.I.P. Kobe.
Thanks, guys.
Definitely R.I.P.
Anytime. Thanks for having
You're
me.
welcome. Yep.
Bye bye.